Legend speaks of an ancient war where demonic beasts invaded and corrupted human hearts. Overwhelmed by the demonic tide, humanity found itself on the brink of total annihilation. But in their darkest hour, a lone priestess wielding holy power emerged to lead the final charge. Her victory earned her the title of Saint Tess, a symbol of hope for all people. Generations later, a massive crowd gathers before a grand cathedral to honor her legacy. A magnificent carriage proceeds through the adoring public, carrying the current holy Saint Tess. Amid the cheers, a young girl curiously asks her mother about the celebrated figure. The mother explains she is the kingdom's unyielding shield, a protector against all evil. More than a shield, she is the guiding light that leads her people to a righteous future. And there she is, the revered Saint Tess, a figure of radiant power and grace. The crowd roars with approval as their new Saint Tess ascends the cathedral steps. She offers a serene smile, the very picture of divine grace for her adoring public. But the moment the doors close, her holy facade crumbles into pure frustration. A silent, exasperated sigh escapes her lips, revealing her true feelings. She grits her teeth, completely fed up with the unbearable pressures of her role. Without a second thought, she kicks off the painfully tight ceremonial shoes. She complains about the agony of her footwear, her feet already sore from the ordeal. Suddenly, a stern, masked figure looms over her, catching her completely off guard. The woman, a high-ranking sister, immediately scolds her for such undignified behavior. The Saintess scoffs, convinced no one would ever choose this life if they knew the endless restrictions. The sister coldly informs her that regret is no longer an option. She then demands the Saintess accept a transfer of magical power or face the consequences. The Saintess argues, recalling a similar draining ritual from the night before. But the sister's fierce glare immediately shuts down any further protest. With no other choice, the Saintess nervously concedes to the mysterious procedure. The sister begins a solemn prayer preparing for the ritual. A glowing sigil appears as she channels her power directly into the Saintess. The Saintess is bathed in a holy light, seemingly accepting the divine energy. But her eyes fly open in alarm as a sharp crystal is pressed into her, completing the ritual. Outside, a brilliant beam erupts from the cathedral, signaling the start of the ceremony to the waiting crowd. The Saintess collapses, overwhelmed by the ritual's immense power. She struggles to speak, feeling her very essence being drained away. Her consciousness fades as she realizes she has given everything she had. In her place, a young man appears, bewildered by the sudden transformation. He quickly checks himself over, relieved to find his body is surprisingly unharmed. The sister calmly informs him that the holy ceremony is now complete. She then officially names him the new Saint Tess of the Speranza Kingdom. A flicker of annoyance crosses his face, hinting he's not thrilled with his new title. The story flashes back to the years 617, where a massive explosion rocks a forest during an ambush. The previous Saint Tess is shown injured on the ground, a victim of the sudden attack. A sinister snake-like demoness appears, revealing her goal is to eliminate the Saint Tess. She lunges forward, confident that with the Saint Tess gone, the kingdom will fall into her grasp. But a loyal knight intercepts the attack, deploying a massive golden shield to protect her charge. The knight stands firm, defiantly vowing that no harm will come to the Saintess on her watch. Meanwhile, a frantic healer scrambles to the Saintess's side, clutching a vital potion. She presents the healing medicine, her expression a mix of desperation and hope. The wounded Saintess, barely conscious, orders an immediate teleportation to escape the ambush. A young mage unleashes her power, weaving a complex group teleportation spell. A shimmering portal of light envelops the party, signaling their imminent escape. The enraged demoness refuses to let them go, gathering dark energy for one final, desperate strike. The knight watches in horror as sinister tendrils shoot past her, aimed directly at the Saintess. Before she can react, the Saintess is ensnared by the demoness's slimy, snake-like appendages. The teleportation spell shatters, its failure leaving the entire party stranded and vulnerable. The scene shifts to a storyteller recounting the legend of the Saintess's most desperate battle. The tale describes her unleashing a final, ultimate skill to vanquish all her foes in a single blow. It's revealed this dramatic battle is just a stage play, celebrating the Saintess's historic victory over the demon tribe. As the show concludes, an actor quickly sheds their simple costume backstage. A charismatic young man named Wesley steps forward, introducing himself as the ringmaster of the circus. He announces the play was a rehearsal for the Saintess's Danger, to be performed at the upcoming holy ceremony. Wesley flashes a charming smile, asking the crowd for their support alongside his animal co-stars. The stage curtain is swiftly pulled aside, revealing the backstage area. Wesley vents his frustration, annoyed that his performance drew such a small crowd. He gazes at the empty seats, lamenting the circus's fading glory since his father's time. His horned dog suddenly perks up, sensing something is amiss. Wesley snaps at his pet, completely unaware of the approaching chaos. Out of nowhere, 3 women plummet from the sky, right above the unsuspecting ringmaster. He looks up, his face a mask of pure disbelief at the impossible sight. The loyal knight is the first to make an impact, crashing directly into him. Before he can recover, the young mage follows, adding to the pileup. Finally, the healer lands on top, knocking the wind out of everyone in the chaotic heap. The knight recovers from the fall, quickly checking on the state of her companions. Dazed but unharmed, the young mage confirms she survived the unexpected landing. The healer also reports she is fine, though her expression is one of clear annoyance. Realizing their predicament, she panics and urges the mage to teleport them back to save the Saint Tess. The mage attempts to cast the spell, but her magic fizzles out with a confused look. Wesley scrambles to his feet, utterly baffled by what just landed on him as his dog barks wildly. He dismisses the absurd thought that women could have simply fallen from the sky. Just then, a massive, fiery explosion erupts from a nearby building, engulfing the street. The force of the blast sends Wesley and his pet flying, adding to the escalating chaos. Stunned, he looks up to see a lone figure descending from the smoke-filled crater. The figure lands amidst the rubble, revealing the injured Saint Tess, and Wesley stares in disbelief. He scrambles to her side, his earlier shock replaced by urgent concern for the mysterious woman. Weakly, she grabs him, insisting he must flee to the priestess's sanctuary instead of helping her. Her grip tightens with desperate intensity, pulling him closer with surprising force. Using her last ounce of strength, she yanks him down on top of her in a swift motion. She pins him to the ground, declaring that they are out of time, leaving him utterly stunned. The saintess explains she exhausted her power to escape and now he is her only hope. To his horror, she tears open her own attire, revealing a sacred duty that must be passed on. A brilliant crystalline sigil emerges from her chest, pulsing with immense holy energy. Without warning, she slams the glowing mark into his chest, initiating a forceful transfer of power. The saintess lets out a final gasp as the last of her power flows out of her. Wesley screams in pure agony, feeling the foreign energy searing through his body. With the transfer complete, the saintess collapses, relieved the sacred sigil has found its new host. He stares in terror, demanding to know what she just forced into him. A blinding light erupts as his body begins to contort and change against his will. His eyes widen in shock as his hair instantly grows long and turns a stark white. Looking down, he realizes with mounting dread that his entire physique is being reshaped. The horrifying truth finally dawns on him. He has been turned into a woman. Now in a completely new body, she sits amidst the destruction, trying to comprehend the impossible. She furiously shakes the unconscious Saint Tess, demanding answers for her unwanted transformation. A menacing voice echoes from the shadows, mocking the saintess's futile escape. The newly transformed hero spins around, demanding to know who is there. From the gloom, a monstrous snake demon emerges, admitting it almost lost her trail. Her eyes widen in terror as she realizes the talking creature is a high-level demon. The snake's form blurs and shifts, rapidly changing into a humanoid silhouette. It reveals the same demoness from the ambush, who greets the new Saint Tess with a chilling smile. The reality of the situation hits her, leaving her frozen in absolute shock. She glances at the unconscious woman beside her, finally understanding who the demon was truly hunting. The demoness adjusts her monocle, amused that the original Saint Tess found a last-minute helper. Declaring them trapped, the demoness looms over them, ignoring the new Saint Tess's frantic denials. The demoness unleashes her true power, vowing to eliminate the witness to her monstrous form. The new Saint Tess instinctively raises her arm to block the deadly blast of dark energy. The attack connects, and she reels back in pain, coughing up blood from the powerful impact. Her eyes widen in terror as she confronts her own mortality, desperately clinging to life. Just as despair sets in, a brilliant holy power erupts from within her, summoned by her will to survive. The sacred energy detonates in a massive explosion, blasting away the surrounding rubble. The demoness stares in disbelief, stunned that an unknown girl could wield the saintess's divine might. Overwhelmed by the pure light, the demon is violently thrown back, cursing her miscalculation. Meanwhile, at the holy sanctuary, the Saint Tess's loyal companions finally arrive. The knight rallies her allies, her expression urgent as she orders them to find and rescue their charge. The knight's eyes snap open, sensing a familiar power surge through the air. A colossal pillar of holy light suddenly erupts in the distance, catching their attention. The knight instantly recognizes the divine energy, realizing it must be the Saint Tess. Without hesitation, the entire party speeds towards the crater left by the blast. The knight leads the charge, her expression a mix of urgency and concern for their leader. As they get closer, she detects a foul demonic presence, confirming her worst fears. Arriving at the scene, they discover two figures lying unconscious in the center of the devastation. The knight is baffled, sensing a trace of the Saint Tess's holy power emanating from the unknown woman. She orders her companions to retrieve both individuals as the new Saint Tess's consciousness drifts into darkness. Floating in the void, she laments her sudden and unacceptable fate. A spectral vision of the original Saint Tess appears, offering a reassuring message from the void. She explains that she has passed on her greatest treasure, urging her successor to live a full life. The vision fades into light, leaving the new Saint Tess to grapple with her unwanted destiny. Her consciousness returns to the waking world, finding herself in an unfamiliar bed with a parrot on her shoulder. The bird squawks excitedly, announcing its master's awakening to the empty room. She glances out an ornate window at the moonlit sky, realizing she is in a church sanctuary.
Slowly, she sits up in bed, breathing heavily as she tries to piece together what happened.
Taking in the unfamiliar, luxurious surroundings, she questions how she ended up in this place. Her memory suddenly jolts back to the three women who crashed into her right before the explosion. Her concern shifts to her missing horned dog, Flash, and she demands to know where he is. Cautiously, she and her parrot peek out from behind the heavy door. Her gaze sweeps across the hall, noticing the imposing stone pillars. She observes the intricate decorations and the finely dressed women nearby. The sight of numerous priestesses confirms her growing suspicion about her location. A wave of shock hits her as she recognizes the moonlit building as the holy sanctuary. This was the very place the original Saint Tess had desperately urged her to find. In a flash, he finds himself back in his male form, utterly bewildered by the change. He claps a hand over his mouth, recalling that men are strictly forbidden from this sacred place. His eyes widen in alarm as hushed voices from the hallway reach his ears. Through the crack in the door, he sees two priestesses speculating that he's a demon involved in the Saint Tess's attack. One priestess coldly declares that as an intruder, he must be eliminated. The terrifying judgment echoes in his mind, sending him into a full-blown panic. He recoils from the door, breathless and desperate to find a way out of this deadly situation. But just as fear consumes him, a sudden thought sparks a glimmer of hope. His eyes land on a priestess uniform draped nearby, realizing it's his only chance for a disguise. Now cloaked in the robes, he cautiously peeks out, ensuring the coast is clear. Seizing the opportunity, he bolts from the room, determined to escape the sanctuary. He races through the labyrinthine corridors, overwhelmed by the building's immense scale. His frantic escape is halted by the sight of a magnificent statue of the original Saint Tess. He stares in awe at a massive, shimmering jewel embedded in the statue's chest. He's taken aback by the statue's prominent features, quickly focusing his awe on the massive gem. With no exit in sight, he adjusts his disguise and hatches a new opportunistic plan. Deciding he deserves a souvenir for his troubles, he reaches out to pry the jewel from the statue. His fingers dig into the setting, attempting to steal the priceless artifact right off the statue. A sharp voice suddenly calls out and he spins around in panic, realizing he's been discovered. To his horror, he recognizes his accuser as the very same knight who crashed into him earlier. The shock of being caught causes his hand to slip, losing his grip on the precious jewel. He loses his balance and plummets backward, letting out a cry of surprise. His clumsy escape attempt ends with him crashing onto the floor in a puff of smoke. Towering over him, the knight smirks, having effortlessly cornered the mysterious intruder. The knight demands to know who he is and why he was desecrating the sacred statue. Panicked, he quickly claims to be a new priestess assigned to cleaning duties. The knight leans in, her suspicion growing as she notes the unusual deepness of his voice. A sly, knowing smile spreads across her face, clearly not buying his flimsy excuse. He realizes with a jolt of fear that his disguise is failing and his capture is imminent. Introducing herself as Commander Wulan, she offers to take the new recruit under her personal protection. He squirms uncomfortably, completely flustered by her aggressive and unwanted attention. Their intense standoff is interrupted by another woman reminding the commander about her scheduled bath. The commander's story unravels as her subordinate confirms the sanctuary hasn't been recruiting new priestesses. With his cover completely blown, he makes a desperate dash to escape his captors. The priestesses sound the alarm, shouting for the capture of the male spy in their ranks. He desperately orders his parrot to create a diversion to lead his pursuers astray. The loyal parrot successfully misdirects the guards, allowing him a momentary advantage. He throws open a nearby door, plunging deeper into the sanctuary in his bid for freedom. Slipping through just in time, he narrowly avoids the approaching priestesses. From his hiding spot, he watches the determined guards race past, still hot on his trail. Catching his breath, he feels a brief moment of relief, believing he's finally shaken them off. But his relief quickly turns to despair, as he realizes he's still lost with no clear way out. His expression shifts to confusion as he notices an opulent room just ahead. He stumbles into a lavish bathhouse, a place clearly not meant for uninvited guests. He stumbles upon the healer and the mage from the group that fell on him, now relaxing in the holy springs. The healer blissfully soaks in the water, feeling the legendary springs mend her old battle wounds. She then pouts, comically disappointed that the holy waters haven't enhanced her physique. The mage immediately reprimands her for her flippant remark about the Saint Tess's power. The healer playfully dismisses the scolding, teasing her well-endowed friend for not understanding her plight. A mischievous grin spreads across her face as she hatches a new, hands-on plan. She lunges forward, declaring she'll have to conduct her own personal research, but the mage calmly raises a hand, effortlessly summoning a powerful water spell. A powerful wave erupts, blasting the overly curious healer away from her target. The healer lands with a splash, suddenly recalling her friend is a rare genius who needs no incantations for her magic. The healer turns in surprise, spotting the cloaked intruder standing awkwardly behind her. He nervously claims to be a new priestess who has simply lost her way. She eyes him suspiciously, rising from the water to get a better look at the supposed newcomer. A sly grin appears on her face as she realizes his arrival is perfectly timed for her needs. She asks the new recruit to help her and the mage, claiming they're too injured to move on their own. The unexpected request sends him into a flustered panic, completely overwhelmed by the situation. He desperately tries to refuse, insisting they should ask someone else for assistance. But his escape is cut short as the bathhouse door begins to open from the outside. He sees a stern, blindfolded priestess ordering her guards to search every corner for the spy. Realizing he's trapped, he grits his teeth, knowing he has to find a hiding spot before he's discovered. With no other options, he makes a desperate move, kicking off the side of the bath. He launches himself into the air, aiming for the far side of the pool to hide. His clumsy dive sends a massive wave crashing over the two unsuspecting women. The healer sputters angrily, completely drenched by his unexpected arrival. The mage is equally unimpressed, wiping the water from her irritated eyes. Mortified, he lands face first in the water, offering a muffled apology for the chaos. The healer's attention is suddenly drawn to her friend, who seems to be in some discomfort. Just then, the bathhouse door creaks open, revealing the sanctuary guard standing in the doorway. The lead guard announces they are there to conduct an inspection, despite the interruption. The healer asks for an explanation, only to be told a suspicious intruder is on the loose. The healer questions the guards about the intruder, completely unaware the culprit is hiding right behind her. A guard confirms the rumor, revealing the suspicious person might actually be a man. The news sends a ripple of shock through the healer and the mage, but the healer's shock quickly turns to giddy excitement at the unprecedented intrusion. She eagerly presses the guards for a detailed description of the mysterious male trespasser. The blindfolded guard relays the intel. Short hair, a pendant, and a poorly fitting priestess uniform. Another guard adds a final damning detail: the intruder is supposedly flat-chested. The healer glances down, comically offended by the last part of the description. The guard turns her attention to the back of the bath, directly addressing the hidden intruder. His eyes widen in pure terror as he realizes he's just been put on the spot. He nervously denies seeing anyone matching the intruder's description, sweat beading on his face. His cover is immediately threatened as his parrot flies over, calling out for its master. The bird frantically warns him to run, confirming the guards are there for his capture. He quickly grabs the parrot, desperately trying to claim it has mistaken him for someone else. His eyes plead with the guards, hoping they'll believe his increasingly unbelievable story. The parrot continues to shout warnings, completely exposing him to the guards at the entrance. He angrily tries to silence his loyal but unhelpful pet, his panic mounting. The mage's eyes narrow with realization, summoning a spell as she identifies him as the trespasser. In a desperate move, he grabs his squawking parrot, preparing for a last-ditch effort. He hurls the bird towards the guards, ordering it to cast a silencing spell as a diversion. The parrot collides with the mage, who stares in shock at the feathered projectile. He frantically splashes in the water, insisting he's not a spy and doesn't know how he got there. Enraged and drenched, the mage glares at him, her patience completely gone. She unleashes her full power, summoning a colossal water dragon from the bath. Seeing the deadly spell forming, he desperately looks for a way to stop the attack. In a flash, he grabs the healer, using her as a shield against her powerful friend. The terrified healer begs the mage to stand down, sensing a dangerous aura from her captor. The intense confrontation shifts to a comical standoff, leaving the mage momentarily bewildered. The mage suddenly senses a pure, immense power from him, rivaling that of the Saint Tess herself. He seizes the opportunity, nervously bluffing that he is indeed a great wizard who shouldn't be provoked. The mage glares, clearly unimpressed by his empty threats. Using the healer as a shield, he inches his way toward the bathhouse exit. He sees his chance, believing freedom is just one step away. In a swift move, he shoves the healer directly at the powerful mage. The healer collides with her friend, leaving them both stunned and entangled. Seizing the moment, he flashes a triumphant grin and bolts out the door. He flees into the moonlit sanctuary grounds as the priestesses shout in pursuit. His confidence evaporates as he realizes he's surrounded and running out of time. Just as hope fades, he spots a dark, hidden passage in the foliage. Ignoring the guards' frantic warnings, he dives into the forbidden tunnel without a second thought. He ignores the priestesses' desperate warnings about the danger that lies ahead. He scoffs at their pleas, convinced it's just another trick to capture him. Outside, the enraged mage demands to know his whereabouts while the other priestesses panic. A nervous guard points, confirming he has fled into the forbidden passage. The stone marker reveals his terrible mistake. He has entered a restricted area. He descends deeper into the seemingly endless staircase, wondering where it leads. The eerie atmosphere makes him question why a dungeon-like passage exists beneath the holy sanctuary. At the bottom, he discovers a massive, ornate door guarded by a golden dragon carving. Surrounded by sharp ice crystals, he cautiously pushes the heavy door open. He steps into a vast cavern, only to be confronted by the head of a colossal stone dragon. He stares up in awe at the colossal dragon, initially mistaking the statue for a living beast. Reaching out cautiously, he places a hand on the ancient, cracked stone. A wave of relief washes over him as he confirms it's just an incredibly lifelike sculpture. He questions the priestess's motives for hiding such an intimidating monument down here. But as his hand rests on the statue, the cracks begin to spread and deepen. The dragon's eye suddenly ignites with a chilling blue light as the stone shatters. Outside, the mage explains to the healer that this secret passage is tied to the prime Saint Tess. She reveals that a powerful Holy Spirit is sealed deep within the forbidden tunnel. The mage begins recounting a legend of a fearsome demonic dragon that terrorized the land long ago. A vision of the past shows the monstrous dragon unleashing fiery destruction upon a helpless city. The mage explains the prime saintess tamed the beast, turning it into a holy spirit to fight evil. Before her death, she sealed the powerful spirit away, fearing it would lose control. The entire holy sanctuary was constructed over the seal to act as its eternal guardian. Now the mage fears the clueless trespasser is about to break that very seal. The healer looks on in horror, asking about the consequences of such an event. The mage warns that if the seal is broken, the ancient Holy Spirit will awaken from its slumber. Her eyes widen with terror as she predicts the kingdom's ultimate destruction. Meanwhile, the heavy stone door to the cavern slams shut, trapping him inside. The guards arrive, declaring the intruder has nowhere left to run and will face judgment. But as they enter the antechamber, they realize with confusion that he has already disappeared. The guards are certain the intruder is trapped, as there are no other exits from the antechamber. The mage takes charge, ordering her team to split up and scour the area. Unseen, he clings to the cavern wall, baffled by his own apparent invisibility. He grits his teeth in frustration, annoyed by the priestess's relentless pursuit. A strange golden energy crackles from his hand, seemingly merging him with the stone. The priestesses below are stumped, speculating he might have used rare space magic to vanish. The healer offers a more grim theory, wondering if the sealed Holy Spirit devoured him. Suddenly, a jolt of immense power courses through him, causing him to cry out in agony. He feels an intense burning sensation as his body is pulled into the ancient stone. The guards can only watch in stunned silence as he is completely absorbed into the cavern wall. The guards finally realize the intruder was hiding on the dragon statue all along. The mage reaches out, smugly declaring his escape is impossible. Her hand unexpectedly lands on a mysterious white-haired woman, stopping her mid-taunt. The priestesses stare in disbelief, completely baffled by the sudden appearance of another woman. Golden energy crackles around the woman as the stone wall behind her shatters. A look of dawning horror crosses the mage's face as she stares at the newcomer. An ancient voice booms from the cracking seal, demanding to know who disturbed its rest. The entire holy sanctuary trembles violently from the power being unleashed below. Deep within the sanctuary, the head priestess is jolted awake by the powerful tremors. Her eyes widen in terror as she connects the tremors to the legendary Holy Spirit's seal. The cavern ceiling shatters as an immense power erupts from the broken seal. An enraged voice echoes as a golden appendage slices through the air with blinding speed. The entity's limb smashes into the ground, unleashing a devastating shockwave. A nearby priestess cries out as she's thrown back by the sheer force of the blast. The white-haired woman watches in disbelief, realizing the ancient statue has come to life. The mage stares in horror, identifying the newly awakened creature as the legendary Holy Spirit. Its powerful claws dig into the stone, demonstrating strength capable of crushing any defense. Steam billows from its cavernous mouth, which looks large enough to devour anything in its path. A pair of magnificent golden wings unfurls, vast enough to blot out the sky. But the legendary beast is revealed to be a small, chubby dragon, letting out a surprisingly tiny roar. The priestesses stare in disbelief as the tiny, glowing dragon floats before them. Their jaws drop, completely underwhelmed by the so-called legendary Holy Spirit. The group openly questions if this unimpressive creature is just an imposter. Offended by their doubt, the tiny dragon puffs up its chest in a show of defiance. The mage slyly challenges the spirit to prove its power and reveal its true form. The scene abruptly shifts to a festive vision of a horned woman celebrating the new year. Suddenly, the white-haired woman is seen fleeing in terror, questioning why she's being pursued. The mage and healer grin mischievously, declaring it's time to collect their New Year's gift. They pounce on their target in a cloud of smoke, ignoring her frantic protests. The woman is presented, comically bound in festive decorations, as a gift for the Grand Priestess. The Grand Priestess generously offers red envelopes to her subordinates for the new year. The mage and healer proudly present their captured gift to their leader. The Grand Priestess blushes, mistakenly believing their grand gesture was all for her holiday money. She playfully teases them, fanning out a spread of red envelopes as if they were that desperate. The festive illusion fades, returning the scene to the solemn reality of the holy sanctuary. With the tiny dragon perched on her shoulder, the Grand Priestess sternly orders everyone to keep the recent events a secret. The priestesses bow their heads in unison, promising to obey her command without question. Meanwhile, the protagonist remains bound, glaring with annoyance at the entire situation. They angrily demand to be released, their patience wearing thin with the prolonged captivity. The Grand Priestess scoffs at the outburst, reminding the intruder they should be grateful for not facing punishment for their chaotic rampage. With a surge of power, she shatters the restraints, her eyes blazing with defiance. She angrily retorts that their paranoid pursuit is the real cause of all this chaos. Pointing to her chest, she reveals the golden pendant from the Saint Tess is what caused her transformation. The tiny dragon identifies the artifact as the mark of the Saint Tess, a symbol of inherited power. The Holy Spirit's sudden declaration that she is the new Saint Tess leaves her utterly speechless. The Grand Priestess chides the dragon, insisting the sacred role of Saint Tess can't be so easily assigned. Demanding the mark's return, the Grand Priestess reaches out to reclaim the powerful artifact. A golden sigil appears as she attempts to extract the pendant by force. The protagonist cries out in agony as the glowing mark resists, seemingly fused to her. The Grand Priestess stares in disbelief, realizing the intruder's life force has become one with the mark. The dragon berates the Grand Priestess, revealing the mark has completely fused with the intruder. Just then he reverts to his male form, overjoyed to be back to normal. The Holy Spirit clarifies his female form was a result of the mark's power, which can temporarily fade. But the dragon warns that as soon as the mark absorbs enough ambient power, he will inevitably transform back into a woman, much to his horror. Utterly horrified by the change, she desperately rejects the unwanted artifact. She pleads with the Grand Priestess, begging her to remove the mark by any means necessary. The Grand Priestess retorts with annoyance, confirming she fully intends to remove it. As she attempts to forcibly extract the artifact, the protagonist cries out in sudden, sharp pain. but a powerful golden barrier erupts from the mark, violently repelling her hand. The Holy Spirit flies in, ordering the Grand Priestess to halt her reckless action. It explains that forcibly removing the mark will destroy it, leaving the kingdom without a Saint Tess. The dragon then proposes a shocking alternative. Simply make the intruder the new Saint Tess. Horrified, she flatly refuses, declaring she'd rather die than accept such a fate. The tiny dragon's expression hardens, unimpressed by her defiant outburst. It coldly informs her that she has no choice, threatening dire consequences for her continued resistance. The terrifying ultimatum leaves her envisioning a future of unending misery. The scene cuts to a grand public ceremony, announcing the ascension of the kingdom's new Saint Tess. She is presented to the adoring crowd, now fully garbed in the sacred robes of her new role. A brief glimpse of his original male form shows his quiet acceptance of this inescapable destiny. He turns to the Grand Priestess, ready to make a new demand. With the ceremony successfully concluded, he reminds her of their agreement. He insists that she uphold her end of the bargain and allow him to return home. She agrees to a temporary leave, but warns that his old life is over and he must return as the Saint Tess. He cheerfully accepts her terms, seemingly unbothered by the strict conditions. The Grand Priestess adds a final catch, assigning him a personal escort to prevent his escape. She sternly instructs the guard to use force if he tries to flee again. The powerful mage steps forward, revealed to be his reluctant new chaperone. The unlikely pair make their way to the grand gates of the kingdom. He leads his stone-faced guardian toward his hometown, located just outside the kingdom walls. He internally fumes, realizing his escort is just a high-class babysitter to stop him from running. He laments his bad luck, annoyed that his guard is the very mage he encountered in the bathhouse. A flustered blush creeps onto his face as he recalls their awkward meeting in the Holy Springs. Lost in his embarrassing memories, he stumbles and splashes into a puddle on the road. His clumsy misstep sends him crashing directly into his unimpressed guardian. The mage looms over him, her expression turning dangerously cold as she addresses his wandering thoughts. With a chilling glare, she orders him to erase all memory of their bathhouse encounter. He angrily accuses her of misusing her authority, but she coldly reminds him her only job is to keep him alive. After a tense journey, he announces their arrival at the familiar streets of his hometown. A familiar bark suddenly catches his attention, making him look up in hopeful surprise. His loyal pets stand guard, bravely trying to fend off shadowy figures threatening their home. The town's portly mayor scoffs at their efforts, dismissing the small animals as a trivial nuisance. He orders his guards to clear the area for a new statue, callously commanding them to dispatch the dog if it resists. The protagonist leaps into action, diving to intercept a guard's spear aimed at his faithful companion. He shields the dog with his own body, taking the full force of the impact as they tumble to the ground. Cradling his whimpering pet, he anxiously checks to see if it has been harmed. He glares up at the mayor, angrily demanding an explanation for the unprovoked attack. A guard callously dismisses him, raising her sword to strike him down for interfering. But his escort intervenes, a golden magic circle materializing as she prepares to cast a spell. A powerful blast of magic sends the mayor and his guards flying backward through the air. The mage casts a powerful gravity spell, pinning the mayor and his goons to the ground. She fiercely questions their audacity for attacking a representative of the holy sanctuary. The terrified mayor recognizes her authority and stammers, asking why a priestess is in their small town. She ignores his question, instead demanding to know why they were trying to demolish the protagonist's home. The mayor nervously explains they were simply building a statue to honor the new Saint Tess. The protagonist furiously refutes his claim, questioning the need to destroy a home for a statue. The mayor snaps back, reminding him of his past as an orphan and claiming he owes him for his kindness. He cruelly declares the land was never his to begin with, but rather town property to be used as they see fit. The protagonist grits his teeth, seething with rage at the mayor's selfish justification. His escort cuts them off, declaring the Saint Tess needs no such monument and ordering them to get lost. The terrified mayor hastily agrees to the mage's command, promising to leave at once. He and his guards beat a hasty retreat, watched by a mysterious tiny creature from the shadows. The creature glows with a strange magical energy, pondering the news of a new saintess. It transforms into a powerful-looking woman, who casually mentions the failure of a demonic subordinate. A cunning smile spreads across her face as she realizes this new development presents a perfect opportunity. Her predatory gaze lands on the unsuspecting mage, sizing up her new target. Elsewhere, the mayor and his men are found defeated, trapped by sharp, golden pillars of magic. The mayor panics, recognizing his attacker as a member of the demon tribe and trying to bluff his way out. His desperate threats are silenced by a powerful kick that sends him reeling. The demonic woman looms over him, amused by his futile attempt to use the priestess as a shield. The demonic woman leans in, expressing a sinister interest in learning more about the mage. Meanwhile, back at his home, the protagonist's parrot anxiously checks on him after the confrontation. He looks at his arm in astonishment, discovering the wounds from the guard's attack have completely disappeared. The mage proudly explains this is the effect of the Saint Tess's legendary healing magic, the strongest in the world. He listens in awe as she clarifies the power can mend both physical and magical damage with ease. To prove her point, she begins a demonstration, summoning a powerful lightning spell. She unleashes a jolt of electricity, comically zapping him to test the healing effect. She immediately follows up with an ice spell, trapping him in a block of crystal-clear ice. Her magical barrage concludes with an earth spell, dropping heavy stones on her unfortunate test subject. Despite the onslaught, he lies on the ground unharmed as she explains the mark grants near invulnerability. The mage winks, playfully insisting her demonstration wasn't revenge, but a simple lesson on his new powers. He angrily accuses her of getting payback, but she just stares back with a stern expression. He marvels at his own body, realizing he's completely healed and rejuvenated by the Saint Tess's power. She clarifies that his power extends to healing others, though he currently lacks the control to do so. His mind immediately wanders to misusing his invincibility to sneak into the women's bathhouse. The mage sternly reminds him that the Saint Tess's power is for protecting the kingdom, not for his personal fantasies. He scoffs at her lecture, reminding her that he never asked for this power in the first place. He turns to leave, prompting a confused question from his guardian about his destination. He casually announces he's just going to change his pants, which were ruined during her demonstration. She bluntly points out his pants are already destroyed and questions if he really wants her to follow him while he changes. An explosion of magic erupts as the mage roars in fury at his blatant disrespect. The scene cuts to his home, a circus-like tent bizarrely labeled Ringmaster's Room. Inside, he scoffs at the idea of being the Saint Tess, completely rejecting the power and its duties. He declares with fierce determination that his only goal is to free himself from this unwanted destiny. Rummaging through his belongings, he triumphantly pulls out a mysterious gold-trimmed book. He explains to his parrot that the book is his father's diary, containing secrets that could remove the mark. With a solution in hand, he steels himself to escape from his powerful guardian waiting just outside. But the Holy Spirit materializes, having overheard his entire scheme to abandon his role. Just then, the mage bursts in, confirming she suspected his rebellious intentions all along. Caught in the act, he panics and desperately tries to talk his way out of the situation. The mage glares, using her magic to levitate the diary just out of his reach. A glowing red sigil appears on her fingertip as she prepares a powerful spell. She unleashes a torrent of fire, vowing to stop him at any cost. He desperately reaches out, pleading with her not to destroy his only hope. The precious diary is pulled into a fiery vortex just beyond his fingertips. Her eyes blaze with fury as she questions his reckless defiance. He clutches the book tightly, challenging her to burn him along with it. His expression hardens as he declares he would rather perish than lose his chance at freedom. The mage is stunned by his rejection, unable to comprehend why he despises the sacred role. Engulfed in flames, he scoffs at her idea of hope, his own resolve unshaken. He furiously denounces the title of Saint Tess, calling it a fraudulent honor that fails those in need. A painful memory reveals him as a child, desperately pleading with the previous Saint Tess to save his father. The former Saint Tess stands impassively as her subordinate holds her back from intervening. Her aide warns that the entire kingdom is under attack, and she cannot risk everything for one commoner. With a heavy heart, the Saint Tess apologizes, admitting she is powerless to help the boy. He watches in despair as she turns her back on him, his pleas for help ignored. Returning to the present, he declares through the flames that he refuses to become a Saint Tess who abandons people. The mage stares in disbelief, shocked that he managed to withstand her powerful fire magic. She quickly deduces he used the Saint Tess's incredible healing ability to brute force his way through the inferno. Her expression hardens with frustration, realizing the very power she's trying to protect is being used against her. The mage taunts him, calling him a hypocrite for using the very power he despises. Her expression hardens as she declares she's far from finished with him. She intensifies the flames, warning him that while he won't die, the pain will be unbearable. He screams in agony but refuses to surrender the diary, his resolve unbroken by the pain. Frustrated by his stubbornness, she prepares an even more powerful spell. The amplified magic courses through him, pushing his body to its absolute limit. The intense pain finally overwhelms him, and he collapses, still clutching the precious book. She looks down at his unconscious form, baffled by his strange and self-destructive determination. She reaches for the book, her curiosity piqued about its connection to the Saint Tess's power. But as she opens the diary, she's left blushing and flustered by its unexpectedly scandalous contents. She recoils in embarrassment, questioning the diary's shockingly inappropriate drawings. Snapping out of it, she realizes he's gone, leaving only a chalk outline on the floor. A flashback from the diary reveals the protagonist angrily chasing after someone named Wesley. The diary's memory shows him looking back defiantly, clutching the book as he flees. The mage, engrossed in the story, yells at the memory, threatening to catch him. The scene suddenly shifts to a spooky haunted house attraction. Inside, the protagonist reveals he cleverly swapped the diary, protecting the real one from her fire. He holds the slightly singed book, now plotting his escape from his relentless guardian. A sudden scream escapes his lips as a shadowy figure lunges at him from above. The mage is also ambushed, her face filled with terror as a glowing skeleton appears behind her. The powerful mage freezes in terror as a masked figure appears right behind her. Her fear quickly turns to fury as she unleashes a powerful blast of magic in retaliation. She furiously demands the protagonist reveal himself, her magic tearing through the attraction. Hiding nearby, he smirks, surprised that a powerful priestess is so easily frightened. He spots a discarded demonic mask on the ground, a new plan beginning to form. A sly grin spreads across his face as he realizes her fear gives him the perfect advantage. Meanwhile, the mage nervously scans the spooky corridors, still shaken by the encounter. With tears in her eyes, she desperately threatens to demolish the entire building to find him. A voice from the shadows taunts her, questioning her right to destroy a citizen's property. A bone-shaped projectile suddenly flies past her head, narrowly missing her. A creepy stitched doll suddenly drops from above, sending the mage into a panic. Startled, she trips over a loose rock on the floor, losing her balance. The powerful priestess hits the ground hard, momentarily dazed by the fall. He sees his guardian down and recognizes this as the perfect chance to make his move. The protagonist aims a tranquilizer dart, confident its potent sedative will neutralize her. Lashing out in fear, she unleashes a defensive blast of fire magic from the ground. He stares in disbelief, shocked that she somehow managed to dodge his attack. She gets to her feet and demands he stop, but he simply taunts her to try and catch him. Enraged, she summons a swarm of unsettling magical creatures to attack him. The creatures smash into a wall as she realizes her target has already vanished. He watches from the shadows, questioning if her fear is genuine or just an elaborate trap. Determined to win, he resolves to press his advantage on his home territory. Suddenly, a hand grabs her from behind and she cries out in terror. She turns to find a mysterious painting of the prime Saint Tess hanging on the wall. Overwhelmed by fear, the priestess begins to pray to the image for protection. The painted figure seems to come to life, its presence looming over the terrified mage. It emerges from the frame, its long hair flowing as it confronts her. The masked figure grips the painting, its voice filled with cold accusation. Its glowing red eyes glare down at her as it angrily questions their decision to force the role of Saint Tess. The mage lies unconscious on the floor as he wonders if his scary performance was too effective. The mage rises, furious that he would use the prime Saint Tess's image in his scare tactics. Declaring his actions unforgivable, she gathers a massive amount of elemental energy. She clenches her fist, preparing to unleash an ultimate elemental spell. Giant magical swords materialize in the sky, poised to deliver judgment upon his home. The elemental blades rain down, obliterating the area with devastating force. Caught in the blast, he realizes that even with his powers, he barely survived the attack. The mage confidently tells him his escape is impossible and orders him to surrender. But her lecture is cut short as a tranquilizer dart suddenly strikes her shoulder. She looks down in shock, realizing she's been hit by his surprise attack. He looms over her unconscious form, relieved that his father's old magician tools finally subdued his powerful guardian. With his guardian neutralized, he contemplates his next move, determined to find a way to remove the mark. He awkwardly carries the unconscious mage, unsure whether to find a hotel or turn her over to the authorities. His escape plan hits a snag as he notices a strange and unsettling crowd blocking his path. The mayor and his guards reappear, now transformed into mindless puppets with glowing red eyes. A mysterious beast woman smirks, pleased to have acquired some enslaved helpers for her own agenda. Her eyes gleam with cunning as she realizes her mission just became surprisingly simple. Later that night, she drives a carriage away from the town, her plan successfully in motion. The beast woman gloats inside the carriage, marveling at how effortlessly her capture went. She boasts about capturing 2 priestesses single-handedly, eager to prove her worth to her peers. But it's the protagonist who is bound and gagged in the back, his escape attempt having gone horribly wrong. He internally panics, realizing his capture by a demon means his life is as good as over. He recalls his father's dire warnings about the demon tribe, imagining the sinister fate that awaits him. His mind torments him with vivid, horrifying fantasies of what his captors have in store for him. The horrifying visions leave him utterly defeated, believing it's better to just give up on living. Yet, a spark of defiance ignites within him, fiercely rejecting the idea of giving up so easily. He glances at his unconscious guardian, realizing his overuse of anesthetic has left her completely unresponsive. With renewed determination, he understands that waking her is his only hope for escaping their captors. A sudden realization strikes him. The Saint Tess's power has a cleansing ability that might just work. He struggles to recall a holy chant, focusing his will to activate the power as a golden aura envelops him. His desperate attempt succeeds as the mage's eye snaps open, her consciousness returning. The mage remains completely unresponsive, still bound and gagged in the back of the carriage. He panics, realizing he has no idea how to control the sacred power he just awakened. Just then, the carriage jolts violently as it hits a large bump in the road. The sudden impact sends the 2 captives flying into the air, still tied together. He smacks his head during the fall, resulting in a sudden and painful nosebleed. They land in a compromising position, with his face pressed directly against his guardian. Flustered by the awkward landing, he tries to avert his gaze in embarrassment. He's stunned to find his nosebleed has instantly healed, a warm energy radiating from the mark. Realizing the healing power triggers on any injury, he focuses all his will on reviving his unconscious guardian. A brilliant golden light envelops the mage as the Saint Tess's power flows into her. The mage slowly regains consciousness, sensing a warm and familiar energy coursing through her. Their captor grows annoyed by the commotion, threatening to silence her prisoners for good. A sudden blast of holy energy erupts from within the carriage, shattering it from the inside. The beast woman is sent flying by the unexpected explosion, completely caught off guard. She lands amidst the fiery debris, frustrated that her priestess captives were more trouble than she expected. A hand glowing with divine power emerges from the smoke, signaling the mage's full recovery. Now fully awake, the mage furiously confronts the demon for daring to attack a saintess of the holy sanctuary. The beast woman scoffs at the threat, reminding the mage that their tribes are sworn enemies. Her bravado falters as she processes the mage's words, suddenly confused about the identity of her captive. As the smoke clears, it reveals the protagonist, the true target of the demon's accidental kidnapping. He frantically tries to explain that the awkward situation was just an accident while trying to save her. The beast woman scratches her head in confusion, certain she had captured a boy and a girl. The mage panics, realizing her outburst has revealed the protagonist's secret identity as the Saint Tess. Her eyes narrow with deadly intent, resolving to silence the demon to protect the secret. The demon, however, comes to a completely wrong conclusion, accusing the mage of a deceptive plot. The mage and protagonist share a look, both unimpressed by their captor's reasoning skills. Deciding to make a run for it, he tries to leave the demon in his guardian's capable hands. He dashes away, attempting a quick escape while the two are distracted. But his path is suddenly blocked by a shimmering magical barrier, stopping him in his tracks. The demon's eyes flash with determination, declaring she'll deal with him whether he's the real Saint Tess or not. The demon roars, refusing to let him escape now that her goal is within reach. A mysterious flashback reveals a tense moment between 2 shadowy figures in a dark cave. In the memory, a white-haired woman desperately pleads with a younger girl to accept her power. The blue-haired girl lies on the ground, looking up with fear and hesitation. The woman grabs her hand, insisting this is their only chance for survival. She stresses that there's no time to waste on questions, only for action. In a desperate act, she leans over the girl to initiate a transfer of power. The scene cuts to 30 minutes earlier, showing a massive ice spell being prepared in the forest. Back in the present, the blue-haired girl from the memory appears, vowing to punish the demon for her crimes. She unleashes a storm of magical ice, determined to bring judgment down on her foe. The beast woman scoffs at the threat, daring the newcomer to even try to punish her. She unleashes her own powerful aura, preparing to meet the icy assault head-on. Her fiery energy violently collides with the ice shards, shattering them in a massive explosion. The blue-haired mage looks on in shock, realizing her magic is suddenly failing her. A powerful counterblast sends her reeling backward, overwhelmed by the demon's strength. Seeing his chance, the protagonist decides he's had enough and attempts to sneak away from the battle. But his escape is cut short by a massive explosion that erupts right in his path. The mysterious mage lies defeated on the ground, coughing and drained of her energy. He turns back in frustration, questioning how a supposed priestess could be defeated so easily. She weakly explains that her magical reserves have been mysteriously depleted. The white-haired girl realizes Lucia's magic was absorbed by the Saint Tess's mark when she tried to wake her. Despite being weakened, Lucia urges the girl Wesley to run to safety. Wesley is shocked as Lucia vows to hold off the demon with her remaining strength. Lucia summons a magical sigil, declaring her duty as a priestess is to protect the mission. Wesley looks on, moved by Lucia's unwavering resolve to protect her. Heeding the warning, Wesley turns to flee, promising to bring back reinforcements. Lucia shouts in frustration, pointing out that Wesley is running in the wrong direction. The beast woman mocks Lucia, questioning the worth of sacrificing herself for someone who flees so easily. Lucia snaps, furiously venting about the cowardly and greedy Saint Tess she's actually protecting. She continues her tirade, listing the protagonist's many misdeeds, leaving the demon utterly baffled. Lucia pushes her depleted magic to its limit, unleashing a final, desperate attack. The beast woman scoffs, seeing through the priestess's attempt to buy time for the Saint Tess's escape. She dismisses Lucia as a minor threat, deciding to finish her off and pursue the more valuable prize. But her attack is interrupted by a horse charging out of the darkness, catching her completely by surprise. The demon stares in shock, questioning where the mysterious steed came from. A flashback reveals it was Wesley, returning with determined eyes to rescue her companion. In the blink of an eye, Wesley scoops up the priestess, and the two vanish into the night. The scene cuts to a secluded cave, where the two have taken refuge from their pursuer. Wesley explains she had no choice but to rescue her, much to the grumpy priestess's annoyance. She justifies her tight grip during the escape, reasoning that since they're both girls, it doesn't matter. Lucia struggles to speak, coughing violently as her body reels from magical exhaustion. Wesley expresses concern, but Lucia insists she's too injured and urges her companion to flee. Wesley refuses to abandon her, remembering she can wield the Saint Tess's healing power. She recalls the initial explosion of power from the mark that previously defeated the beast woman. With newfound confidence, Wesley reveals she has a plan to defeat their pursuer, leaving Lucia stunned. She proposes a risky plan. Let the Saint Tess's mark absorb all of Lucia's remaining magical energy. The priestess stares back in disbelief, completely baffled by the radical suggestion. Without hesitation, Wesley begins the power transfer, leaning over the now unconscious priestess. A brilliant golden aura erupts around Wesley as Lucia's magical power floods into her body. She feels the immense energy surging within her, a confident smirk replacing her earlier desperation. The priestess lies drained on the cave floor, her magical energy completely depleted. Wesley awkwardly gets up, having finished absorbing her companion's power. Their moment of recovery is cut short as the beast woman appears at the cave entrance, having tracked them down. The demon smirks, confident that her cornered prey has nowhere left to escape. But Wesley, now brimming with borrowed power, coolly asks why they would even consider running. She stands tall, radiating confidence and boldly challenging the demon to a direct confrontation. Wesley positions herself in front of the weakened Lucia, daring their pursuer to make a move. The demon hesitates, confused by this sudden display of courage from the one who fled earlier. Deciding to call the bluff, she unleashes her aura and charges forward to see what tricks Wesley has planned. Wesley steels herself, ready to activate the Saint Tess's mark and unleash a devastating counterattack. The demon's attack slams into Wesley, but the expected counterblast never comes. Lucia watches in horror as her companion is struck down. Wesley panics, realizing the Saint Tess's mark is only healing his wound, not fighting back. Their captor smirks, impressed by his healing but unfazed by the lack of an offensive threat. As the demon lunges for another strike, Lucia bravely moves to intercept the blow. A devastating impact lands, signaling a critical hit. Lucia has thrown herself in front of Wesley, taking the full force of the attack to protect him. He holds his wounded guardian, who weakly tries to dismiss her sacrifice. He desperately confesses he's just a normal person, with no idea how to control the Saint Tess's power. Panicked, he demands Lucia teach him the activation chant before the demon finishes them both off. The wounded priestess struggles to recall the sacred chant for him. Their captor mocks his decision to act as a human shield, eager to test his limits. He endures a powerful blast, using his body to protect his injured guardian. With a confident smile, he announces that his turn to attack has finally arrived. He gathers the immense holy energy, preparing to unleash the Saint Tess's true power. A devastating torrent of divine light erupts from his hands, aimed directly at the demon. The beast woman's confidence shatters as she faces the overwhelming holy power. The ground explodes in a blinding flash as his attack obliterates its target. He pants heavily, the immense power leaving him completely breathless. The backlash from the attack proves too much, and he collapses to the ground, utterly exhausted. He pants, shocked by the raw power he just unleashed. The devastating attack has completely reshaped the landscape around them. Lucia explains this is the true power of the Saint Tess, meant to vanquish demons single-handedly. He stubbornly pouts, still insisting he never wanted the power in the first place. His guardian marvels at his natural talent, able to wield the sacred energy despite his deep resentment. Dusting himself off, he declares their mission complete and tries to make a quick getaway. But Lucia stops him in his tracks, insisting their business is far from over. She prepares a spell, warning him to surrender or face the consequences. From the rubble, a small furry creature peeks out, cursing its bad luck. The beast woman reverts to her original form, shocked that they managed to find her hiding spot. The three figures stand in the desolate crater, the defeated demon now at their mercy. The beast woman tearfully begs for her life, admitting her mistake and offering to do anything to be spared. But the priestess is unmoved, her hand glowing as she prepares to deliver a final judgment. She declares it her sacred duty to eliminate demons, completely rejecting any pleas for mercy. In a last-ditch effort, the demon desperately offers to hand over all her valuable treasures. The protagonist's eyes light up at the mention of treasure, earning a scolding from his guardian for his greed. The beast woman nervously agrees to the deal, reaching to retrieve the promised riches. She presents a small spatial bag, claiming it contains all of her valuable loot. He eagerly snatches the bag, his mind racing with excitement over the treasures inside. But upon opening it, he's showered with a collection of frilly clothing, not the riches he expected. But among the items, he's shocked to find his father's long-lost diary. The demon explains she found it during their capture and offers it as a tribute. His guardian glares, threatening the demon with annihilation if the precious book is damaged. He quickly opens the diary, relieved to find its pages are perfectly unharmed. A drawing inside reveals his next objective: find the person depicted to solve his problem. The beast woman, now an eager informant, asks if the Saint Tess is looking for that woman. She suddenly recalls seeing the mysterious woman from the drawing before. He's stunned by the unexpected lead, leaning in to hear every word. The demon reveals her clan gathers intelligence and identifies the woman as Aileen. A sudden flashback confirms it, showing his father introducing him to Aileen years ago. Lucia listens, her expression hardening at the mention of another priestess from the holy sanctuary. Desperate for answers, he grabs the demon's hand, demanding she take him to Aileen immediately. He drags the beast woman away, promising to spare her life in exchange for finding the woman from the diary. But his guardian furiously orders him to stop, refusing to let him leave with their enemy. She unleashes a powerful blast of magic, blocking his path and showing she means business. He turns in disbelief, shocked that his own guardian would attack him so suddenly. Lucia unleashes her fury, scolding him for tarnishing the Saint Tess's name by making a deal with a demon. He smirks back, cheekily asking if his actions truly count as tarnishing the title. To provoke her further, he gets uncomfortably close to the demon, mocking Lucia's rigid principles. The priestess is left speechless with rage, her anger reaching its absolute boiling point. Pushed to her absolute limit, the priestess explodes with uncontrollable magical fury. He smirks, reminding her that thanks to her own teachings, he can now absorb her power at will. She watches in horror as her magical energy dissipates, leaving her body weak and defenseless. Her strength fails her completely, and she collapses to the ground, unable to resist. Overwhelmed and powerless, she begs him to stop draining her energy. He revels in his newfound ability, realizing this power is the key to controlling the priestesses of the holy sanctuary. He looms over his defeated guardian, telling her to stop resisting and simply follow his lead. With a determined look, he declares that once the mark is gone, he'll be free from her and the sanctuary for good. The priestess is stunned into silence, shocked by his plan to abandon his sacred duty. Seeing her chance amidst the chaos, the beast woman quietly prepares to make her own escape. Back at the holy sanctuary, a high-ranking priestess receives a shocking report. A frantic messenger confirms their worst fears. The Saint Tess and Lucia have been kidnapped by demons. Furious, the Grand Priestess orders a nationwide search to rescue their captured Saint Tess. Her eyes burn with resolve, determined that no harm will come to their sacred charge. Meanwhile, the protagonist travels through a dark forest with his new demon guide and a spectral Lucia. He looks around the desolate landscape, doubting they'll find civilization in such a remote area. The demon guide insists they're on the right path, revealing their target lives in a hidden forest village.
He eyes the creature suspiciously, accusing it of leading him into a monster-infested trap.
The terrified demon swears its loyalty, too scared of the consequences to even think of betrayal. He smirks, warning the demon that his spectral guardian is watching and won't hesitate to deliver punishment. The spectral priestess scoffs, questioning his plan even if the demon is telling the truth. She reminds him that if removing the mark was simple, he never would have been chosen in the first place. He insists on trying, telling her that if he fails, she'll just have to obey him from now on. Lucia complains that she could easily stop him if only her magical power had recovered. He mischievously threatens to absorb her energy again the moment she regains any strength. Flustered, she vows to make him pay for his insolence once they get back to the royal city. He smugly tells her to behave, using the threat of a giant monster looming behind him to make his point. The priestess panics, trying desperately to warn him of the real danger. He mistakes her warning for an outburst, but she frantically points out the monster right behind him. He turns around just in time to see a massive three-eyed beast preparing to attack. He and the demon guide panic, one screaming about a monster, the other about a giant cat. The horned, saber-toothed beast roars, its glowing eyes fixed on its newfound prey. He shoves his spectral guardian forward, expecting her to handle the creature with ease. Lucia furiously reminds him that he absorbed all her magic, telling him to fight his own battle. He suddenly remembers that he can now wield the very power he needs to survive. Brimming with confidence, he channels a golden aura and challenges the monster to face the Saint Tess's might. The terrified demon guide clings to his clothes, pleading not to get caught in the crossfire. He struggles to push the creature away, ordering it to stay still while he concentrates. In the commotion, he accidentally raises his hand, losing control of the immense power he's gathered. A devastating beam of holy light erupts from his palm, striking the beast head-on. The holy beam misses its target, carving a massive arc through the night sky. He collapses to the ground, stunned that his powerful attack completely missed the mark. He's shocked to find his body has reverted to normal, realizing the transformation and power were temporary. The reality of his powerlessness hits him, leaving him in a state of utter panic. The enraged beast looms over him, completely unfazed and ready to strike. Just in time, his guardian's hand grabs him, urging him to escape while he still can. She yanks him to his feet, and the two make a desperate dash for safety. Now fully corporeal, the priestess drags him and the demon guide away from the monster. He questions why she's running, assuming her return means her powers are back in full. She frantically explains she only has enough magical energy to flee, not to fight. The priestess warns that her magic is fading and the beast will soon catch them. He desperately asks his demon guide to negotiate, but the creature panics at the absurd idea. As the monster roars in pursuit, he worries they're about to become its next meal. He suddenly announces a plan, asking his companions to buy him some time. His bizarre solution is for both him and the priestess to take off their clothes. He blushes but insists this is no time for jokes, urging them to follow his strange command. The demon guide explains the plan. Use their scented clothes as a decoy to mislead the beast. With a determined gaze, he waits for his guardian to agree to the unconventional strategy. He turns to the priestess, pleading with her to go along with the desperate plan, but the flustered priestess adamantly refuses, declaring she'd rather be eaten than comply. Their clothes now hang from a tree branch, acting as a scented lure in the moonlight. The beast sniffs the decoy, but the demon guide warns their distraction won't last long. The priestess angrily reminds him she's already sacrificed her clothes for his ridiculous plan. The demon guide points to a strange mushroom, offering a new, even more desperate solution. It explains the mushroom emits a foul odor that will repel the monster pursuing them. He and the priestess exchange a look of disgust, skeptical about the slimy solution. Deciding they have no other choice, he rips the strange mushroom from the ground. With the monster closing in, he clutches the mushroom and continues his desperate flight. The demon guide leaps away, urging them to use the repellent before they're caught. With a grimace, he squeezes the mushroom, covering himself in its foul-smelling goo. He turns on his guardian, flinging the foul-smelling substance directly at her. The slimy goo splatters across her chest, catching her completely off guard. She recoils in disgust, now covered in the same stinking repellent as him. He dismisses her complaints, insisting their survival is all that matters. Their desperate escape continues as they sprint through the dark forest. But their path ends abruptly at the edge of a sheer cliff, trapping them. He confronts the demon guide as the beast corners them, realizing the repellent plan has failed. With no other options, the priestess resolves to use her last bit of magic in a final, desperate move. He selflessly urges her to escape alone, offering to sacrifice himself to buy her time. With grim determination, he turns to face the monstrous beast, ready to meet his end. But his resolve shifts to a confident smirk as he assures his guardian he'll handle the situation. He drops to his knees, a strange purple energy glowing as he grabs for his terrified demon guide. In a desperate move, he offers the small creature to the beast, hoping it prefers mice. The demon guide furiously protests, betrayed at being used as a scapegoat after all its help. The massive beast leans in, sniffing the foul-smelling offering with intense curiosity. It recoils in disgust, pinching its nose, completely repulsed by the mushroom's stench on the demon. The creature stares at the offering with a look of utter bewilderment, unsure how to react. Instead of attacking, the beast turns and begins furiously digging a large hole in the ground. It then buries the protagonist up to his chest, leaving him stuck in the dirt with his offering. The beast simply walks away, leaving the two companions baffled by its bizarre reaction to their smell. He lies on the ground, relieved that the bizarre encounter has finally come to an end. He sarcastically thanks his tiny guide, pinching its ear for its help in saving them. The demon guide's face contorts with rage, completely unamused by his gratitude. The creature explodes in fury, questioning how he has the nerve to act so casually. Reverting to her true form, she grabs him by the collar, accusing him of betrayal. He tries to threaten her by reminding her of the Saint Tess's power, even as she pinches his cheek. She mockingly dares him to use his power, calling his bluff as she dashes away. A brilliant flash of golden light suddenly cuts through the tension between them. The priestess steps forward, her hand outstretched as she commands the demon to leave him alone. The beast woman turns with a sly grin, acknowledging she had almost forgotten about her other target. The beast woman addresses the priestess, who glares back defiantly despite being restrained by the demon's tail. She gloats over her apparent victory, with both the priestess and the protagonist now at her mercy. But Lucia smirks, unimpressed by the demon's confidence and hinting the tables are about to turn. Unfazed, the beast woman lunges forward, ready to end the confrontation once and for all. But her attack is suddenly intercepted by a red-haired woman who appears out of nowhere. The newcomer expresses her relief, revealing she had been tracking Lucia's magical signature. A massive wave of holy energy erupts, signaling the arrival of powerful reinforcements. The beast woman is sent flying, slamming hard against a newly formed magical barrier. She recoils in pain, completely overwhelmed by the unexpected and powerful assault. The rescuer turns to the now freed Lucia, checking on her well-being after the ordeal. The rescuer reveals the high priestess reported Lucia's kidnapping, launching a massive search party to find her. Lucia speculates the high priestess intentionally concealed the Saint Tess's identity to protect him. The furious warrior confronts the demon by name, vowing to deliver justice for the kidnapping. She confidently states that tracking down the beast woman was an easy task. A flashback reveals the high priestess had already purged the nearby town of demons, gathering intelligence. The captured demon's cowardly companions quickly betrayed her, revealing all her plans. Enraged by the betrayal, the beast woman prepares to unleash a desperate counterattack. She fiercely declares that she won't be defeated without a serious fight. Just as the demon attacks, a golden whip of energy suddenly ensnares the startled priestess. The whip yanks her backward, pulling her away from the confrontation against her will. The golden whip crackles with holy energy, yanking the priestess to safety. The red-haired knight moves to protect Lucia, shielding her from the cornered demon. Seeing her primary target out of reach, the beast woman glares at the imposing knight. She switches tactics, grabbing the protagonist and threatening to end him if the knight attacks. He panics, desperately pleading with the knight to save him and not just focus on Lucia. The warrior looks at him in confusion, prompting him to frantically declare he's the Saint Tess. She dismisses his claim as a joke, completely unconvinced by the boy's desperate cries. Even the demon mocks his lie, shouting that everyone knows the Saint Tess is not a man. Ignoring the hostage situation, the knight readies her sword, preparing to call the demon's bluff. She lunges forward, aiming a decisive strike at the shocked beast woman. Lucia desperately tries to stop the knight, confirming that the boy's claim is actually true. The knight's reckless attack sends both the demon and her hostage flying through the air. Her powerful sword strike shatters the cliffside, sending rubble into the abyss below. The beast woman crashes to the ground, defeated by the overwhelming force of the knight's assault. The protagonist freezes as the knight's blade stops just shy of his throat, drawing a single drop of blood. The knight grins, finally believing his claim and praising the Saint Tess for his composure. He angrily retorts that her recklessness nearly cost him his life, while she awkwardly tries to justify her actions. The knight is left utterly confused, questioning how the legendary Saint Tess could possibly be a man. Lucia quickly concocts a cover story, explaining it's a disguise magic from the High Priestess for a secret mission. She leans in close, warning the knight that revealing the Saint Tess's true identity is a fatal mistake. Believing the cover story, the knight eagerly asks Lucia to cast the same disguise magic on her. The warrior complains her physique is a hindrance in battle and that becoming a man would be far more practical. She gets uncomfortably close, leaving the flustered priestess speechless at the sudden invasion of her personal space. But the knight suddenly recoils, pointing out the foul odor clinging to the priestess from their earlier escape. The warrior silently fumes, offended by the priestess's apparent lack of hygiene and decorum. Disgusted by their smell, the knight orders the Saint Tess and his guardian to wash themselves in the nearby river. She dismisses their hesitation, reasoning that since the Saint Tess is a girl, there's no issue with them bathing together. As they prepare to wash, the priestess quietly asks him if she should continue keeping his identity a secret. Meanwhile, the defeated demon watches from the bushes, seething with rage and vowing revenge. But the demon's vengeful thoughts are cut short as it senses a mysterious presence looming just behind it. The High Priestess outlines her plan for what to do after capturing the demon. The knight proudly reports that she made the Saint Tess and Lucia wash before returning to the temple. A flashback shows the awkward bathing scene, with him insisting he's a gentleman. The High Priestess pointedly clears her throat, interrupting the knight's rambling story. She dismisses the warrior, announcing a private and important discussion with the Saint Tess. A powerful pressure suddenly radiates from the High Priestess, stunning him and Lucia. She grabs the boy by his collar, demanding he explain why he ran so far away. He panics under her intense glare, desperately crying out for help. A small bird on his head panics, sensing the unfortunate fate awaiting its owner. Defeated, he and Lucia can only kneel and tearfully apologize for their disobedience. The High Priestess scolds Lucia, disappointed that her most obedient subordinate would let the Saint Tess run wild. Lucia is left speechless and ashamed, unable to defend her actions. He quickly intervenes, taking full responsibility and claiming he forced Lucia to help him. He then gives his guardian a reassuring wink, trying to take all the heat himself. But the High Priestess's fury erupts, her demonic aura manifesting as she threatens him for his disobedience. The small bird on his head senses the impending doom, chirping in a panic. Outside, the red-haired knight waits impatiently, wondering why the private meeting is taking so long. She pouts with jealousy, wishing she could have some private time with the Saint Tess as well. A sudden commotion from behind the sealed door snaps her out of her thoughts. The door opens to reveal the High Priestess dragging a flustered Lucia, who looks like she's just been thoroughly disciplined. The knight rushes to the flustered Saint Tess, demanding to know why she's been hurt. Lucia quickly explains it was a mishap with the disguise magic that the High Priestess had to fix. The warrior warns her to be careful, lest she get stuck permanently as a stinky man. The High Priestess cuts in, announcing the Saint Tess will begin her official duties the next day. She assigns Lucia as the Saintess's aide, much to the jealous knight's disappointment. The protagonist wonders what his new duties will entail, hoping it's not too much hard work. The story then jumps forward 3 days, leaving their next move a mystery. The scene opens on a luxurious steaming bath, hinting at a moment of relaxation. He's being pampered with a massage in the bath, telling his attendants to continue their work. A hand reaches for a nearby bowl of fruit, fully embracing the life of luxury. He peels a banana, blushing as he indulges in the luxurious bath. With puffed cheeks, he takes a large bite, savoring the sweet fruit. He reflects that the hard work of a Saint Tess is mostly just endless pampering and leisure. Suddenly, the red-haired knight enters, dismissing the attendants to serve the Saint Tess personally. She begins massaging his back, and he secretly melts under the surprisingly comfortable pressure. The relaxing moment is shattered as he suddenly gets a massive nosebleed, much to his shock. The knight cradles his face, pointing out the blood while admiring his divinely soft skin. She becomes fiercely protective, vowing that no man should ever lay eyes on the sacred Saint Tess. He nervously asks what she would do if she ever found such an intruder. Her imagination runs wild with vengeful thoughts, plotting a permanent and gruesome punishment for any man who dares trespass. He nervously wonders if the knight has always been this terrifying, realizing he's in a precarious position. To his horror, the disguise magic fails, reverting him to his true form at the worst possible moment. The knight's eyes gleam with zealous fury as she reiterates her vow to destroy any man who sees the Saintess. He panics, desperately trying to cover himself as his secret is laid bare before the dangerous warrior. A wave of pure shock and embarrassment washes over him, realizing the knight now knows the truth. He breaks down in tears, utterly convinced that his life is about to come to a swift and violent end. The knight looks on, still processing the situation as he wails that it's all over for him. In a desperate last-ditch effort, he throws his towel directly at the knight, pleading for her not to look. The towel lands squarely on her face, momentarily blinding her and cutting off her line of sight. She pulls the towel away, completely baffled by the Saintess's bizarre and frantic behavior. The knight questions his frantic actions, trying to reconcile the image of a man with the Saint Tess before her. She trembles, wondering if her mind is playing tricks or if the Saint Tess is hiding a shocking secret. Deciding to retreat, the flustered knight makes a clumsy excuse to leave him alone. But a sudden realization hits her, and her expression shifts from confusion to alarm. She lunges forward, grabbing him and pointing out the blood still trickling from his nose. Her concern grows as she spots a pool of blood on the floor, demanding to know if the Saintess is hurt. He panics, clutching his face as he realizes his massive nosebleed never actually stopped. Looking back, he's horrified to see the long trail of blood he's left in his wake. The worried knight resolves to take the Saintess directly to the high priestess for immediate treatment. He frantically hops away, desperately trying to keep her at a distance and protect his secret. He panics, claiming he has no idea why the bleeding won't stop. The knight ponders the situation, trying to understand the Saintess's mysterious ailment. She has a sudden, dramatic realization, concluding it must be the Saintess's time of the month. Seeing a perfect excuse, he immediately latches onto her absurd theory. The knight eagerly offers to help him change, wanting to teach him how to handle the situation. Terrified by her enthusiasm, he frantically flees, telling her to stay back. He insists it's a private matter that every girl must face alone, solidifying his cover story. The knight is moved by the Saintess's maturity, now completely convinced of his female identity. Alone, he realizes the high priestess's disguise magic, meant to last a week, failed in just 3 days. Feeling dizzy from blood loss, he begins to fear for his life. Desperate for a cure, he sprints through the halls, believing Lucia is his only hope for survival. He finally reaches her room, relieved to have found his potential savior in the nick of time. He bursts through the door, pleading for help as he collapses from dizziness. Inside, he finds a startled Lucia, who has just finished her own bath and is wrapped in a towel. He stumbles forward, lamenting that the fall nearly finished him before the blood loss could. He accidentally lands directly on top of the stunned priestess, making the situation far more awkward. Her face flushes with pure shock and embarrassment at the sudden compromising position. Enraged, she unleashes a powerful slap, sending the pervert flying across the room. He tearfully begs for help, claiming a deadly curse is causing his unstoppable nosebleed. Lucia's expression turns menacing as she offers to heal his curse with a dose of her own brand of justice. He is sent flying across the room by the sheer force of her furious slap. Lying in a pool of his own blood, he's dismissed by Lucia, who refuses to believe his story about a curse. He desperately pleads for his life, and her anger finally gives way to concern as she sees how serious his condition is. The high priestess is summoned, now using her powerful magic to heal him as he lies unconscious. A guilt-ridden Lucia apologizes, confessing she didn't realize the consequences of her actions. The high priestess reveals a shocking truth. He's losing his life force, and her healing is only a temporary measure. Waking up just in time to hear the grim news, he panics at the thought of his impending doom. The High Priestess confirms his worst fears, giving him a chillingly precise 2 to 3 months to live. The reality of his short lifespan hits him, leaving him paralyzed with fear. Lucia tries to calm him down, determined to find a solution to his fatal condition. He desperately clings to Lucia, wailing that he's too young to die. In a moment of despair, he sobs uncontrollably while holding on to the unimpressed priestess. The High Priestess turns to a mysterious creature, asking if it knows of a way to save the Saint Tess. A tiny dragon-like being, the Holy Spirit, ponders the grave situation. His nosebleed suddenly returns, and he panics about his life force draining away again. The High Priestess suddenly realizes a potential solution to his fatal condition. Overjoyed by the news, he leaps up, asking the Holy Spirit if he can truly be saved. The divine creature cryptically replies that his fate ultimately rests in his own hands. The High Priestess questions the Holy Spirit's vague and unsettling answer. A small, scholarly creature adjusts its glasses, preparing to reveal the plan. The Holy Spirit begins its lecture, explaining how life force and magic are separate in ordinary people. It then declares that the protagonist is a unique and unfortunate exception to this rule. Because of a damaged seal, his life force and magic have merged into a single draining hourglass. Lucia realizes with horror that every spell he casts is literally shortening his lifespan. The creature reveals his transformation is tied to this hourglass, shifting between male and female forms. When his magic is full, he takes the form of the beautiful Saint Tess. But once half his power is consumed, he reverts back to his male self. The hourglass continues to drain, ominously hinting at a final, fatal outcome. The creature cheerfully concludes that once the magic is gone, so is his life. He erupts in frustration, realizing the complicated explanation just confirmed he's still doomed. The Holy Spirit blames him, revealing his reckless use of the seal's power only made his condition worse. He struggles to recall when he ever used the seal's power, but Lucia realizes with dawning horror what the creature is referring to. She flashes back to the moment he unleashed a massive holy attack, unknowingly sealing his fate. Brushing off the blame, he anxiously asks what he needs to do to survive. The creature explains the solution is simple. He just needs to pump magic into the hourglass faster than it leaks out. It clarifies that to sustain his life, he requires a constant and overwhelming source of magical energy. The creature then reveals the one specific skill he must learn to save himself. The creature declares that his only path to survival is to master magic itself. Forgetting his impending doom, he's suddenly thrilled by the prospect of becoming a powerful mage. The High Priestess interjects, expressing her doubts to the Holy Spirit. She argues that a complete novice learning magic from scratch won't be enough to save his life. The Holy Spirit cryptically suggests there might be a workaround as it circles the boy. A brilliant golden energy swirls around him, channeled by the tiny divine creature. He stands firm as the energy envelops him, preparing for a dramatic transformation. The creature reveals it can repair his divinity, transforming sunlight into magic to buy him time. After using its power, the creature announces it's exhausted, and his survival now rests entirely on his own efforts. As the exhausted spirit falls onto her head, she internally celebrates the chance to finally be lazy again. The three of them stand in stunned silence, processing the sudden turn of events. The High Priestess breaks the silence, announcing he will be admitted to the Holy Magic Academy the very next day. He looks up in confusion, completely baffled by the sudden announcement. While being prepared, he questions Lucia about this mysterious Holy Magic Academy. She explains it's a prestigious academy funded by the temple, where many priestesses are trained. Lucia proudly reveals she's a graduate, but he expresses doubt about his own abilities. She reassures him that the High Priestess has sent 2 other guardians to ensure his safety. He then brings up a dark rumor about their failure to protect the previous Saint Tess. Her face darkens with irritation, sharply cutting the conversation short. She throws open the doors, revealing a massive crowd ready to worship the new Saint Tess. Overwhelmed by the sudden adoration, he can only stand in stunned silence. A hand suddenly reaches out and firmly grasps his, pulling him forward into the light. Confetti rains down as the adoring crowd roars its praise for the new Saint Tess. He struggles to maintain his composure, overwhelmed by the sheer devotion of the crowd. He plays the part perfectly, offering a gentle smile that sends the crowd into a frenzy of worship. The crowd continues its fervent cheers as the Saint Tess is escorted away in a grand, holy carriage. Inside, one of his new guardians, a red-haired girl, marvels at the enthusiastic reception. Her companion, a focused inventor, calmly works on a mechanical device, unfazed by the commotion. The enthusiastic guardian is overjoyed that the high priestess has trusted them with this mission, despite their past failures. The inventor, however, remains unimpressed, viewing the assignment as just another place to conduct her research. Her curious companion leans in, asking what strange contraption she's building this time. The inventor smirks, sensing an opportunity to show off her latest and greatest creation. The enthusiastic guardian recoils, remembering a previous invention that nearly ended in disaster. But the inventor scoffs, insisting her companion simply lacks appreciation for true genius. The red-haired girl then sighs, admitting her jealousy of Lucia's close proximity to the Saint Tess. Their carriage finally arrives at the magnificent Holy Magic Academy. A mysterious woman in a dark dress steps out onto the red carpet, her arrival commanding attention. One of the waiting students immediately scoffs at the Saint Tess's flashy entrance. Another student agrees, sneering that the newcomer is just a show-off who got lucky. The Saint Tess remains silent, taking in the unwelcoming reception from the other students. The mysterious blonde woman turns away with a dismissive huff, leading the hostile group. She declares with bitter resolve that the title of Saint Tess rightfully belonged to her. Lucia arrives just in time to help the Saintess gracefully exit the carriage. The red-haired knight, Ulan, immediately scolds Lucia for her supposed carelessness. Ulan's eyes sparkle with excitement as she asks if the Saintess missed her presence. Lucia quickly pulls the Saintess aside, reminding him of his duty to absorb sunlight for his mark. The flustered protagonist apologizes, promising to pay more attention to his holy duties. Lucia dismisses his excuses, telling him to get ready to finally enter the academy. The inventor guardian notices Ulan has frozen in place, guessing she's realized a terrible truth. A woman in a formal uniform officially welcomes the Saintess to supervise the academy. She introduces herself as Mana, the director of teaching, and offers a welcoming handshake. Mana leans in close, revealing the high priestess has ordered her to help the Saintess master her powers. He thanks the teacher, privately annoyed that the high priestess has revealed his training needs. Their conversation is interrupted by a rude shout demanding everyone clear the path. A young student is violently shoved aside, sent sprawling to the ground in shock. The hostile blonde woman from before charges through on horseback, cracking a whip. She glares down at the fallen student, insulting her for getting in the way. The terrified girl covers her face as the whip lashes out, narrowly missing her. The Saintess angrily orders her to stop as a powerful aura flares around him. But his guardian, Ulan, is faster, catching the whip mid-air and halting the attack. The blonde rival demands to know who dares interfere, while Ulan angrily questions her brutal methods. Ulan challenges the rival's authority as the Saintess calmly intervenes, diffusing the tension with a smile. The rival introduces herself as Ricky, the daughter of a powerful merchant, greeting the Saintess with a condescending smile. She casually dismisses her cruelty, telling the Saintess not to mind her while she disciplines a peasant. Onlookers whisper about Ricky's influential family, whose wealth and power rival that of the nobility. Ulan retorts that no amount of influence excuses such arrogance, earning a silent cheer from the Saintess. Ricky justifies her actions by claiming she was in a hurry, before taking a jab at Ulan's physique. The Saintess looks down, wondering if the pointed insult was actually meant for her. Enraged by the disrespect, Ulan draws her sword, her patience finally snapping. The Saintess frantically holds his guardian back, trying to prevent her from attacking the unreasonable woman. As the confrontation escalates, Ricky's horse rears up, startled by the sudden tension. With a final, smug glance, Ricky calmly rides away, leaving chaos in her wake. A new woman named Lisa arrives, scolding Ricky for her disruptive behavior towards the Saintess. Ricky offers a backhanded apology, framing it as the Saintess being too magnanimous to bother with a commoner. The protagonist maintains a strained smile, demanding Ricky apologize to the student she hurt. Outraged, Ricky scoffs at the idea of apologizing to a peasant, further infuriating Ulan. The inventor guardian Fridley steps forward, challenging the arrogant rival to a competition. The Saintess seizes the opportunity, proposing a duel of magical power to settle the dispute. Ricky is visibly stunned by the unexpected challenge to her magical abilities. A mysterious figure inside the carriage gives a subtle signal, setting the confrontation in motion. The Saintess gives Fridley a sly look, assuring her that this is all part of a clever plan. As Ricky rides away, Fridley expresses her doubts, but the protagonist confidently tells her to trust him. A mysterious woman warns Ricky that the new Saintess is an unknown entity and that failure is not an option. Ricky condescendingly accepts the duel, while the protagonist inwardly celebrates that his trap has been sprung. The Saint Tess explains the rules of the ancient ritual, a non-physical duel of magical infusion. The goal is to pour magic into a crystal ball, with the winner being the one who achieves the highest color rank within the time limit. Fridley confirms the rules with the Saint Tess, who confidently signals his readiness for the competition. Ricky smirks, secretly confident that a hidden potion will ensure her victory against the Saintess. He reassures his rival with a disarming smile, much to the shock of his guardian Fridley. He offers a handshake, praising her bravery while secretly planning his next move to take her down. Ricky accepts the handshake with a smug look, completely unaware of the trap being laid. As their hands connect, a strange, fiery energy surges between them, sealing the terms of the duel. Ricky's eyes widen in shock, completely caught off guard by the handshake's effect. A strange sensation washes over her, leaving her flustered and wondering what's happening to her body. The Saint Tess confidently announces the start of the duel, while Ricky sweats with newfound anxiety. She steels herself for the competition, determined to win despite the strange feeling he's caused. He calmly places his hands over the crystal, signaling for the duel to begin. Before a crowd of students, the two rivals take their places on the grand stage. The duel begins with the Saint Tess looking serene, while Ricky struggles with all her might. The Saint Tess effortlessly fills his crystal with a brilliant blue light, revealing master-level power. In stark contrast, Ricky's crystal barely glows, her magic failing to make an impact. The crowd murmurs in confusion, wondering how a supposedly powerful mage like Ricky could be so utterly outmatched. Ricky struggles to channel her magic, wondering why her power is failing her at this crucial moment. Convinced the duel is rigged, she decides to resort to a hidden, desperate measure. Fridley senses a strange shift in the atmosphere, adjusting her glasses with suspicion. Meanwhile, his loyal guardians cheer wildly from the sidelines, confident in their Saint Tess. Ricky unleashes a brilliant golden aura, pouring a massive amount of power into her crystal. She glares with grim satisfaction, believing her overwhelming strength is now unbeatable. The crowd gasps, recognizing her power as that of a high-level moonlight mage. The Saint Tess enjoys the attention, deciding his own display of power was insufficient and preparing to show more. Refusing to lose, Ricky pushes herself to the breaking point, determined to uphold her family's honor. An official announces the duel will end in 30 seconds, heightening the suspense. Ricky feels her body reaching its absolute limit, her energy completely drained. With only 10 seconds left, she refuses to give up, her eyes burning with desperate resolve. She unleashes a final explosive burst of magic, determined to overpower the Saint Tess no matter the cost. The official dramatically calls an end to the duel, leaving the outcome hanging in the balance. Ricky collapses in exhaustion, her clothes tattered from the immense power she unleashed. As the official prepares to announce the results, Ricky glares with bitter defeat from the sidelines. The Saint Tess is declared the winner, striking a victorious pose that delights the crowd. The results confirm his overwhelming victory, with his crystal far outshining his rivals. Humiliated, Ricky furiously accuses the Saint Tess of cheating, refusing to accept her loss. She insists a trick prevented her from using her full power, while he inwardly panics that his ruse has been exposed. Fridley steps in, challenging Ricky's bold accusation of cheating. The inventor then kneels, pointing out something incriminating near Ricky's feet. She reveals a small, discarded vial, announcing she's found the evidence. Fridley identifies the vial as a powerful magic potion, turning the accusation back on the stunned rival. The crowd erupts in outrage, realizing Ricky's high rank was likely a complete fraud. Humiliated and exposed, Ricky stammers in denial as her reputation shatters. A powerful figure watches from above, dismissing the entire spectacle as ridiculous. A new authoritative woman appears, declaring the cheater must be punished for her actions. Suddenly, a strange phenomenon occurs as the woman's chest appears to rapidly deflate. The smaller girl is sent reeling, revealing the strange transformation actually affected her instead. Lucia grabs the confused protagonist, urgently whispering that he's reverted to his male form. Before the entire academy, she realizes they must escape before his secret is exposed to the crowd. She quickly announces the Saint Tess is tired and drags him away, leaving a bewildered Ulan behind. Meanwhile, the defeated rival Ricky tries to slip away unnoticed, but Ulan is watching her every move. Ulan furiously intercepts Ricky, reminding her that the Saint Tess ordered her to repent for her actions. The humiliated rival looks on in disbelief, realizing there's no way out of her predicament. Later, a mysterious woman questions Ricky, who tearfully admits to her public humiliation. The woman scolds her for crying and offers a handkerchief, trying to get her to compose herself. She then demands to know how Ricky lost so spectacularly, even with the help of a powerful potion. Ricky reveals that during their handshake, she felt the Saint Tess drain all of her magical energy away. The mysterious woman listens intently, her face hidden in shadow as she processes the news. She finds this revelation fascinating, noting that no previous Saint Tess has ever shown the ability to absorb magic. Ricky explains the situation, unknowingly giving her master a crucial piece of information. A sinister smile crosses the woman's face as she realizes this weakness can be exploited to seize the Saint Tess title for herself. Back at the academy dorms, the day's chaos finally settles down. Lucia unceremoniously throws the protagonist onto his new bed after their narrow escape. He immediately forgets his troubles, blissfully enjoying the luxurious, high-quality bedding. His moment of peace is shattered as Lucia looms over him, furious at his recklessness. She slams her hand down beside him, making her anger terrifyingly clear. Lucia takes a more direct approach to discipline, punishing him for nearly exposing their secret. Lucia channels her magic into his back, demanding to know how he'll attend the ceremony in his current form. He cheekily enjoys the sensation, asking her to pour even more revitalizing energy into him. She delivers a disciplinary swat, scolding him for showing off when he already had the duel won. Her expression turns grave as she reminds him that overusing his magic directly drains his life force. He gratefully admits that Fridley's intervention saved him from having to use the seal's dangerous power. Lucia reveals that Fridley only noticed the potion because she was the one who invented it. He's stunned to learn Fridley is a master potion maker who will be guiding his theoretical studies. Their conversation is cut short by frantic knocking as Ulan calls out, worried about the Saint Tess. They both panic, shouting through the door that everything is fine and she shouldn't come in. Outside, a confused Ulan wonders why Lucia is also in the Saint Tess's room. Lucia quickly invents an excuse, claiming the High Priestess ordered her to stay in the room with the Saint Tess. Her explanation immediately gives Ulan the wrong idea, who warns them against any inappropriate behavior. Still suspicious, the knight tries to force the door open, convinced something is terribly wrong. Lucia desperately holds the door shut, trying to stop the determined Ulan from barging in. The protagonist's panicked cries from inside only fuel Ulan's wild and incorrect assumptions. Fearing the worst, Ulan smashes the door open to rescue the Saintess from a perceived threat.
She bursts in only to find Lucia standing alone by an empty bed, leaving her utterly baffled.
Ulan then spots a trail of footprints leading to an open window, realizing the Saint Tess has vanished. Meanwhile, the protagonist catches his breath outside, relieved to have escaped just in the nick of time. But his relief is short-lived as Lucia shouts from the window, pointing out his body is already starting to transform back. He accidentally stumbles upon a group of female students sharing an intimate moment in the garden. His sudden appearance in his male form earns him a shocked gasp and an accusatory finger. The startled girls immediately surround him, their private gathering now a tense confrontation. Their initial shock quickly turns to outrage as they brand him a pervert. He desperately tries to plead his case, but his words are lost in his own panic. One of the girls angrily cuts him off, refusing to hear any excuses for his presence. The students whisper amongst themselves, plotting a harsh punishment to protect their secret. Their eyes gleam with a unified, menacing resolve as they agree on a course of action. Realizing he's in mortal danger, he bolts up the stairs with the furious mob right behind him. He desperately flees, trying to convince his pursuers that it's all a huge misunderstanding. He catches his breath, realizing he's just become the most wanted pervert in the entire academy. He reflects on his narrow escape, the close call leaving him completely shaken. His desperate escape leads him to leap into another occupied room, interrupting a student's private moment. Seeing the requested garment, he decides to play the part of the helpful Yaya to avoid another confrontation. He rationalizes his actions, telling himself he's only trying to help the situation. The unsuspecting student turns with a smile, thanking him before realizing he's not who she expected. He tries to play it cool with a pained smile, but his cover is instantly blown. His good intentions are met with a furious scream as he's ejected from what turns out to be a changing room. The chase resumes as he desperately pleads his innocence to the furious students who refuse to listen. Spotted from above, the students close in for the capture, and even a nearby bird senses his impending doom. He leans against a wall, believing he's finally escaped the mob of angry students. His desperate flight leads him to an unfamiliar building on the academy grounds. Venturing inside, he discovers a room filled with strange contraptions and alchemical tools. He realizes with a start that he's stumbled into someone's private laboratory. A quick glance at a nearby clock sends a jolt of panic through him. He imagines Lucia's wrath, knowing he's dangerously late for the evening ceremony. His eyes land on two glowing vials, seeing a potential, if risky, solution to his problem. The mysterious potions, labeled CW250, swirl with a powerful transformative energy. Meanwhile, at the ceremony venue, Lucia anxiously scans the area, wondering where the Saint Tess is. The Saintess suddenly appears in full regalia, offering a sheepish apology to her three stunned guardians. He nervously asks if he's missed the start of the ceremony, barely holding his composure. A comically bandaged Lucia furiously demands to know where he's been all this time. Fridley sniffs the air suspiciously before formally announcing the Saint Tess's arrival to supervise the academy. Lucia shoves him toward the stage, urging him to get on with his official duties. He offers a strained smile as his supporters wish him luck from behind the curtain. Stepping into the spotlight, he greets the massive waiting crowd with a graceful wave. He delivers a humble speech, expressing his hope for friendship and a blessed future for all. His words are met with a roar of adoration as the students cheer for their new Saint Tess. The director of teaching clears her throat, trying to regain control of the enthusiastic crowd. She then introduces Lisa, the academy's top student, who steps forward to formally welcome him. Lisa, the top student, steps forward with a fiery glare, her hostility clear to everyone. She bluntly informs the Saint Tess that he is not welcome at the academy. The crowd murmurs in disbelief, wondering if their top student has lost her mind. Lisa questions how an unknown newcomer could possibly inherit the Holy Throne. She issues a formal challenge, a battle to decide who truly deserves the title of Saint Tess. The Saint Tess is stunned by her immense power, realizing his own magic is fading fast. Just in time, Fridley casts a spell from the sidelines, creating a diversion. A thick magical fog suddenly blankets the stage, hiding the confrontation from view. Undeterred, Lisa unleashes a powerful attack, her fiery magic cutting through the mist. As the fog clears, the protagonist is seen struggling, the potion's effects rapidly wearing off. The crowd stares in disbelief as the fog clears, revealing a completely unexpected scene on stage. He looks down in horror, realizing the potion has worn off and he's reverted to his male form. The audience murmurs in confusion, wondering where their beloved Saint Tess has suddenly disappeared to. A student points out the impossible. A man is standing on stage in their all-female academy. His luck runs out as one of the girls he encountered earlier recognizes him, loudly pointing him out to the crowd. The student from the changing room joins in, fueling the outrage by accusing him of being a total pervert. The entire audience glares down with contempt as he realizes his secret is exposed in the worst way possible. His challenger, Lisa, looms over him, furiously demanding to know why a man is on her stage. With his identity exposed and accusations flying, Fridley prepares to intervene and salvage the situation. Fridley steps forward, demanding the crowd hand over the Saint Tess as she desperately tries to control the chaos. Fridley confronts the protagonist, accusing him of kidnapping the Saint Tess to protect his identity. Playing along with the ruse, he smirks and defiantly confirms he kidnapped her. Fridley secretly instructs him to follow her lead while he panics about their next move. His challenger, Lisa, closes in, seeing an opportunity in the unfolding chaos. Lisa grabs him from behind, declaring her intent to defeat both the pervert and the Saintess at once. Fridley is stunned as her plan is complicated by Lisa's unexpected interference. The inventor warns him to prepare to dodge as she unleashes a powerful magical attack. Fridley launches a massive blast of purple energy, shouting a warning to the Saint Tess. The protagonist watches in horror as the enormous attack barrels toward him and Lisa. Caught in the blast, he realizes with terror that his guardian might actually be trying to kill him. The magical blast slams into the building, causing a massive destructive explosion. Students scream in terror, scrambling for safety as the roof begins to crumble above them. The director of teaching, Mana, quickly erects a magical shield to protect the students from falling debris. Ulan shoves a fellow student out of harm's way, narrowly saving her from being crushed. The red-haired knight then uses her own shield to block the cascading rubble, protecting them both. Amidst the smoke and ruin, a lone figure stands on the destroyed stage, surveying the chaos. Lucia furiously confronts Fridley, scolding her for unleashing such a reckless and powerful spell. Fridley apologizes sheepishly, admitting she got carried away and promising to pay for all the damages. She glances nervously at the wreckage, secretly hoping the protagonist wasn't caught in the destruction. Meanwhile, the protagonist flees through the woods, realizing he barely escaped being vaporized by his own guardian. He questions whether Fridley's explosive rescue was actually an attempt on his life. From the shadows, he watches his guardians frantically search for the missing Saint Tess. He imagines the grim fate that awaits him if his true identity is discovered by the Academy. Remembering the lab he stumbled into earlier, he races to find the potions that could save him. He breaks into the laboratory, knowing that stealing is wrong but seeing no other way out. He desperately searches through the alchemical supplies, looking for anything to reverse his transformation. With a look of grim determination, he clutches a vial, hoping it contains the answer to his prayers. Before he can use the potion, the lab's security system activates, its mechanical arms lunging toward him. The vial slips from his grasp as he's ensnared, its precious contents spilling uselessly on the floor. A mysterious figure emerges from the shadows, revealing they have been waiting for him all along. The lab's owner, a young woman named Ashimi, looms over the captured protagonist, demanding he tell her the truth. She interrogates the thief, questioning his relationship with the Saint Tess. Recognizing him, she asks why she can smell her own potion on the Saint Tess, connecting the dots. The protagonist panics internally, realizing his cover is completely blown and his secret is out. Ashimi lays out her reasoning, noting that a strange man appearing near the Saint Tess is too much of a coincidence. He laments that his personality is too distinct to hide, even when he changes his form. With a confident point, Ashimi declares that if her theory is correct, then he must be the Holy Saintess's enemy. She demands he confess his evil plans, completely misinterpreting the situation. The protagonist is left utterly stunned and confused by her wildly inaccurate deduction. He internally despairs at her wild accusation, thinking she's a complete idiot. Faced with an arsenal of intimidating machinery, he immediately starts begging for forgiveness. In a moment of panic, he blurts out that he is actually the Saint Tess's brother. Ashimi is stunned by the revelation but remains suspicious, questioning why he would kidnap his own sister. He wearily begins to explain, admitting that it's a very long and complicated story. He spins a tale of a tragic childhood, claiming his sister always received all the presents and attention. The sob story continues with a flashback of her hogging all the best food, leaving him with scraps. He concludes his tale by claiming he only wanted to teach her a lesson for not recognizing him. His story unexpectedly moves Ashimi to tears, who confesses her own bizarre jealousy of the Saint Tess's physique. Composing herself, she gets back to the point, demanding to know why he was stealing her potion. He confesses that his lack of magical talent drove him to steal her potion. With the air supposedly cleared, he nervously asks to be released from his restraints. Ashimi's eyes gleam as she offers him a wide array of potions to try, terrifying him with the prospect of human experimentation. She reveals the stolen potion has a dangerous side effect: wild fluctuations in magical power. He pales, realizing the chaos he inadvertently caused for the Saint Tess and his guardians. The alchemist eagerly presents a case full of experimental concoctions, ready to begin her tests. She selects the first potion, leaving him to nervously question its safety and her intentions. Offended by his doubt, she grabs his face and boasts about her master pharmacy license. She leans in close, clarifying she won't make him drink all of them, which is hardly reassuring. Without another word, she forces the first experimental potion down his throat. Ashimi eagerly asks for his feedback on the potion, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. The potion has a disastrous effect, leaving his face comically swollen as he weakly gives a thumbs up. He panics, realizing his speech is now completely garbled due to the potion's side effects. Ashimi cheerfully explains it was a strength potion, casually mentioning he must be having an allergic reaction. Without waiting, she forces another unknown concoction down his throat, claiming it's the antidote. She confidently assures him the second potion will fix everything, completely ignoring his distress. To his shock, the antidote works perfectly, instantly reverting his face back to normal. The alchemist proudly boasts about her newly developed cure, while he expresses his immense relief. But his relief is short-lived as he feels something strange on his cheek, discovering a new furry problem. Ashimi quickly invents a lie, claiming a pet is on his shoulder and warning him not to look back. Ignoring her warning, he tries to see the pet for himself, twisting in his restraints. Ashimi's face contorts in horror as she realizes her experiment has gone terribly wrong. He panics as he sprouts monkey ears and a tail, while the alchemist scrambles for another cure. A night of chaotic experimentation ensues as Ashimi forces more potions on her unwilling test subject. The next morning, Lucia wakes up peacefully, unaware of the night's events. A sudden noise from the doorway startles her, and she calls out for the Saint Tess. The Saint Tess appears, looking exhausted, prompting a sarcastic remark from Lucia about his return. Lucia's smug expression turns to shock as she notices something strange about the Saint Tess's hair. She lunges forward in a panic, trying to stop the Saintess from getting too close. Suddenly, a furious Fridley appears, delivering a powerful strike that sends the Saintess flying. Lucia pours tea for the exhausted protagonist, asking about his grueling night with Ashimi. He imagines the High Priestess and Ashimi as a terrifying duo, a demon king and her gleeful executioner. The protagonist laments the endless potion experiments that left him in pain, earning Lucia's sympathy. Lucia cheekily suggests telling the truth might have been easier, but he doubts it would have worked. She then declares they're heading to the forest for some business, leaving him completely baffled. Lucia gets playfully close, calling it a punishment and leaving the flustered Saint Tess to guess her intentions. Her playfulness vanishes as she grabs his hair, demanding to know what he's thinking. She sternly reminds him of their important mission at the academy. Frustrated, she pulls his hair again, scolding him for forgetting his purpose was to train his magic. As he finally remembers, an exasperated Lucia urges him to get moving so they can begin. Lucia confidently announces their arrival in a secluded forest, much to the protagonist's surprise. She decides to start his training with a brief explanation of what magic actually is. The lesson begins with the tale of a goddess of light who descended to bestow blessings upon humanity. She explains that those who received these blessings gained elemental powers and became the first magicians. To discover their talents, magicians use a crystal ball to test their elemental affinity and guide their training. Lucia reveals her own affinities for lightning and water, which she has focused on mastering. She then informs the stunned protagonist that as the Saint Tess, his elemental attribute is naturally light. The lesson continues with the 6 classes of mages, with Lucia revealing her own rank as a Starlight Mage Master. He looks on in shock, processing the different power levels required to advance as a mage. Lucia prepares to demonstrate a basic light spell, telling him to watch closely and try to copy her. Lucia channels a brilliant burst of light, demonstrating the simple spell for him to copy. But his attempt fizzles into nothing, leaving him stunned while Lucia impatiently orders him to try again. He tries repeatedly from day to night, but each attempt to cast the light spell ends in failure. Completely drained, he collapses against a tree, admitting he's too exhausted to continue. Lucia berates him, questioning how the Saint Tess can fail at a spell even the weakest mages can master. He weakly theorizes that the seal might be suppressing his magical abilities as well. His guardian realizes he's right. The seal must be affecting his powers, not just his physical form. He then remembers his healing powers, arguing that his magic isn't completely gone. A spark of an idea ignites in Lucia's mind as she recalls his unique healing talent. She eagerly presents herself as a test subject, startling him with a sudden demand to heal her. He begins the healing, and Lucia is stunned by the sheer force of his magic. But the spell backfires, causing a magic reflux that sends the energy surging back into him. He sheepishly admits his healing ability seems to only work on himself, much to Lucia's disbelief. Lucia's demeanor turns demonic as she threatens to drain every last drop of his magic, leaving him terrified. Their training is interrupted by the arrival of an important-looking visitor at the academy. A confident young woman named Kinley Watson announces her presence with an air of authority. The scene shifts to a formal meeting room inside the academy building. The Saint Tess and Lucia sit down for tea with their unexpected guest. Lucia cuts straight to the point, impatiently asking Kinley to state the reason for her visit. Kinley smiles nervously, trying to deflect the blunt question with a bit of polite charm. Kinley bluntly states her purpose is to get a good look at the new Saint Tess. She then humbly apologizes on behalf of her friend Lisa for the earlier confrontation. Both the Saint Tess and Lucia are stunned into a Shibi-like shock by this unexpected apology. Lucia whispers her suspicions, convinced that this is all part of a larger scheme. Kinley admits with a nervous expression that apologizing isn't her only reason for being there. She then extends a formal invitation to a grand tea party being held in his honor. The protagonist is visibly flustered by the sudden and unexpected invitation. Lucia immediately questions the invitation, suspicious of how a commoner could host such a noble event. Kinley simply offers a curt and confident reply, refusing to elaborate on her plans. She leans in close, adding pressure by mentioning all the ladies eager to congratulate him. Kinley confidently seals the deal, leaving the stunned Saint Tess with no say in the matter. With a sly smile, she bids him farewell, confirming their meeting for the following night. The door slams shut before he can object, leaving him to wonder how he got roped into this. Lucia calls their guest arrogant while the protagonist questions if attending the party is a good idea. His guardian explains they're cornered, as refusing the invitation would create a political incident. Lucia wastes no time, aggressively ordering him to resume his magic training immediately. He tries to lighten the mood with a joke, but Lucia sternly redirects him back to his practice. His attempt to cast a spell backfires, causing his female form to destabilize. He reverts to his male form, lamenting his lack of magical talent after using up his power. To his utter shock, a brilliant light spell suddenly bursts from his hands, leaving him baffled. Lucia realizes that while he's powerful as a saint, he can only use magic in his male form. She immediately orders him to try a primary water spell to test her new theory. To his own amazement, he effortlessly conjures a perfect orb of water on his fingertip. His guardian confirms that the damage seal is the cause, locking his magic to his male form. The protagonist's ego inflates, convinced he's a natural-born genius for learning so fast. Lucia puffs her cheeks in annoyance, unimpressed by his sudden burst of arrogance. She warns him not to get cocky, as beginner spells are nothing compared to what's next. Undeterred, he unleashes a powerful earth spell, summoning a stone avalanche with ease. He follows up with a wind spell, gleefully controlling the leaves around him. His training takes an unexpected turn as he accidentally creates a massive ice crystal, shocking himself. He collapses to the ground, completely drained from the intense training session. He complains about all the trouble the broken seal has caused him, but Lucia defends its unexpected benefits. His guardian notices he has a nosebleed, worried he's pushed his magical limits too far. He realizes that using his powers in this form is consuming an immense amount of energy. A flashback reveals Ashimi's warning. He needs regular cures to suppress the potion's side effects. Lucia suddenly remembers an appointment and rushes off, leaving him to question if he needs to transform back. He defiantly declares he's staying in his male form, convinced this is the best way to use his power. Lucia watches him leave, a trail of blood on the floor making her doubt his confident words. He frantically bursts into the lab, desperately searching for the alchemist to fix his worsening condition. To his horror, he finds Ashimi passed out on the floor, the victim of her own experimental concoction. He frantically shakes the alchemist, demanding to know what happened and if she was attacked. Ashimi weakly explains she's just suffering the side effects of her own self-experimentation. The protagonist expresses his immense relief, realizing his worry was completely misplaced. He urgently demands a new antidote, explaining that the previous suppressant is no longer working. The alchemist confidently tells him to wait, striking a dramatic pose amidst a shower of petals. She then admits that creating a complex new suppressant will take much longer than a single day. He gestures helplessly at his tail, wondering what he's supposed to do about his new appendage. Ashimi playfully grabs his tail, musing that the new look actually suits him. She then finishes her thought by cheekily insulting him, calling him a stupid ape. He fires back, furiously questioning her morals after suffering countless side effects from her reckless tests. He points an accusing finger, furiously declaring she has no right to call herself a pharmacist. Ashimi's eyes narrow, her surprise quickly turning into a dangerous glare. She fires back, angrily reminding the stupid ape that she was the one who helped him in his time of need. The two devolve into a childish finger-pointing argument, their faces puffed with indignation. Giving up on her, he announces he'll just prepare the medicine himself. As he starts rummaging through her lab, Ashimi furiously warns him to keep his hands off her equipment. He holds up a vial, defiantly stating he's not leaving until he gets the antidote he needs. His eyes widen as he senses a sudden and immense shift in the room's atmosphere. Ashimi reveals a massive weapon, threatening to make him pay for disrespecting a great inventor. He screams in terror as she unleashes a fiery blast, realizing all geniuses are completely unhinged. He channels his newfound power, preparing to counterattack with his own magic. He unleashes a condensation spell, filling the lab with a thick cloud of smoke. The alchemist scoffs, certain that his simple diversion won't be enough to stop her. She fires her own device, adding even more smoke to the already obscured room. As the smoke swirls, she smugly dismisses his magical attempt as pathetic. But her confidence shatters as magical vines suddenly erupt from the floor, ensnaring her. He looms over the captured alchemist, smugly demonstrating his superior control of magic. With a disarming smile, he tells her to wait patiently while he prepares the antidote himself. Enraged by his audacity, she furiously reminds him that he's in her lab, her domain. With a single command, she activates the lab's ultimate defense system, trapping him in a cage of laser beams. Ashimi proudly announces her lab's ultimate security protocol, completely unfazed by the vines. She declares herself invincible on her home turf, gloating from behind the laser grid. The powerful beams sizzle and crack the floor, demonstrating their immense power. She demands he apologize and address her as the great Professor Ashimi to avoid being vaporized. The lab's automated cannons glow ominously, ready to fire at her command. Surrounded by a fiery aura, she confidently tells him to surrender to her superior intellect. Her triumphant expression suddenly falters, replaced by a look of complete confusion. A rogue blast from her own system sends the shocked alchemist flying across the room. They both realize in horror that her lab equipment has malfunctioned and is now out of control. Another wild laser beam shoots through the lab as the protagonist warns her to watch out. From a darkened doorway, multiple pairs of glowing red eyes emerge through the smoke. The eyes belong to 3 monstrous beasts, summoned as the lab's ultimate security measure. Outside, the academy is bombarded by rogue energy blasts from the malfunctioning lab. The protagonist peeks out from cover, watching the chaos unfold with growing concern. Ashimi dives for cover as a stray laser blast completely obliterates a nearby table. He furiously demands she shut down her out-of-control invention before it destroys everything. The alchemist fires back, blaming his water magic for short-circuiting her delicate machinery. Having escaped to a rooftop, he continues to berate her for creating such dangerous and faulty equipment. Meanwhile, the summoned beasts overhear their argument and become enraged by the insults to their master. Their bickering intensifies, both refusing to take responsibility for the disaster they've created. He begs her to shut down the rampaging machinery, crying out as his tail gets caught in the crossfire. Meanwhile, the summoned beasts celebrate their successful escape into the nearby woods. They recall their master's terrifying wrath, vowing never to be imprisoned by the devil again. The lead beast devises a plan, ordering his companions to scatter in different directions to ensure their freedom. With their strategy set, the creatures bolt into the forest, desperate to evade their furious creator. Back in the lab, a disoriented Ashimi lies amidst the debris, questioning what just happened. The protagonist emerges from a cloud of dust, having survived the mechanical onslaught. He looks down at the fallen alchemist, dryly noting her pitiful condition in the ruined lab. Forgetting their argument, he pleads with her to help him get rid of his unwanted monkey tail. Ashimi glares back, furiously refusing to help the one who caused the destruction of her laboratory. He fires back, arguing that her so-called great invention shouldn't have short-circuited from a simple water spell. With a look of steely resolve, he declares that if she won't make the antidote, he'll just do it himself. Ashimi scoffs from the floor, mocking his sudden confidence as he turns to her cluttered bookshelves. He ignores her taunts, triumphantly pulling a massive potion encyclopedia from the shelf. Cracking his knuckles with a grin, he announces it's time to show her how it's done, while she watches in disbelief. He happily gets to work, grinding ingredients with surprising focus and a cheerful expression. With a playful wink, he carefully adds a single drop of reagent, showing an unexpected knack for alchemy. He proudly holds up a test tube filled with a sparkling blue liquid, declaring his masterpiece complete. Ashimi watches in horror as he prepares to drink the concoction, warning him he might poison himself. Her jaw drops in disbelief as his monkey tail stiffens and then drops to the floor, completely gone. The alchemist is utterly flabbergasted, demanding to know how he created a perfect antidote on his first try. He smugly explains he simply followed the book, pointing out her potions fail because she omits key ingredients. Ashimi proudly retorts that a true alchemist has no need to follow someone else's recipes. He realizes with horror that she knowingly tortured him with experimental drugs, which she cheerfully confirms. The protagonist lunges at her in a fit of rage, but she easily sidesteps his attack. Their chaotic argument echoes from the ruined lab, disturbing the peace of the night. The next morning, the Saint Tess wakes up, stretching peacefully after a long and eventful night. He greets Lucia with a cheerful good morning as he steps out of bed. Lucia glares back, questioning his tardiness and accusing him of sneaking out. He can only offer a nervous laugh, trying to deflect her sharp interrogation. Lucia gives up arguing, deciding to focus solely on maintaining the Saint Tess's public image. He questions the change of plans, but Lucia reveals it's a mandatory magic theory lesson for him. A sudden wave of panic hits him as he tries to remember who teaches the dreaded class. Lucia chides him for forgetting as they arrive at the lecture hall for his lesson. He freezes in absolute horror, realizing his teacher is the chaotic alchemist Ashimi. He hesitates at the door, recalling the near-fatal battle in her lab the night before. Putting on a brave face, he enters the classroom and calls out for his new instructor. He finds Ashimi sulking in a corner, radiating an aura of pure gloom and despair. Her despair instantly turns to rage as she grabs him, furiously demanding to know where her escaped beasts are.